Yeah, so I'm on the opposite end of that. Like the last, I mean, to an extent, it's kind of embarrassing to say because it highlights a fault, right, that I've been trying to work on. But when I retired from the military, I wanted nothing to do with structure, so I got away from it all, right. I was in like always in the meetings, right, the meetings for the meetings, the last 5 years, and when I got out, I just didn't want any structure at all. So I stopped using the calendar. I stopped using all these things. But it's interesting because I've talked with a few folks that still maintain that rigid, or I don't want to say rigid, but very uh, methodical, intentional schedule, right? Because you're aware of the time, right? The time that you want to make the most of the time that you have, right?
That's
And
right, man. It's fragile.
be productive, right? And the opposite end of that, ironically, because you would think with my background, I should be more aware of it in the sense of like, and I do the things, I do a lot of things, but do, but I, I, I don't know. I've been the last 2 3 months. I've been more intentional, like putting in using the calendar and all these things. But it's interesting, like because you would think, and for some of you folks that didn't hear, this is Adrian Cadena, Navy vet, rogue trail builder, ketamine therapy advocate, all around good dude. Met him here mountain biking in San Antonio. But just before the call, I was talking about. Do you mind if I kind of just give a little
Yeah,
piece
you
of
can
what we're talking?
preface it.
Yeah, so we were talking about he just came out of a job interview, just changed location, kind of different opportunities. But I guess they had an issue with his, as they called it, rigidity and hyper rigidity, I think is what they said, because he wanted to be very structured with his time and just kind of going back to the military, like mindset and culture, right? There's like task oriented. So you can take it over from here. Like they didn't want. It didn't sound like that. That was the way that they wanted it. And I would have thought that
Yeah.
leadership would want that, right?
I think the hard part is for people to realize like there's the point of being like you're constantly adapting and trying to go ahead and drive, right? And then when it comes to a leader, like being a leader to me is it's probably one of the biggest gifts that you can go and get, but the highest responsibility, right? It's a great gift that your peers give you. But then when you start to go ahead and show them like, hey, yeah, I'm always 15 minutes late, right? But then you don't get the opportunity to ever go ahead and then counsel them when they're 15 minutes late, right? You don't get to be that. So it's like, hey man, you got to hold yourself at the highest regard. Especially so I work in the world of safety, right? So if someone catches me doing any type of wrong, man, it's like I'm constantly I would be then crucified. Like, hey Adrian, you're not wearing your personal protection. Well, why aren't you wearing it? Oh, dude, I forgot it. So then I can never chastise another individual to be like, hey, bro, why aren't you wearing what you're doing? Well, Adrian, do you remember that one time you didn't do this? Or why didn't you do that? Also, man, it's one of my biggest faults, and I think you've talked about it just like you said earlier, is that, as I got out of the military, I saw that I had this, like, there were certain things that I kept to. I always kept a watch, always had to go ahead and keep a schedule, knew that I was going to be 7 to 10 minutes early. All these other things that were like, this is what I wanted to do. And I got away from that and then it started to creep back in because I saw that those were the principles of success. Those were the things that I had to go ahead and put back into my life because I had to go ahead and make up a distance. And I knew that other people were fucking off with their time, that people weren't making up that distance. So I was closing the gap on success. And I was able to go and close the gap really promptly when I made a career change because I utilized that as a strategy. And people saw it that I was on time. I was actually ahead of schedule with my work, ahead of schedule with my expectations. And whenever I would go ahead and say that I was going to, promptly take care of something, they'd get it a day prior. And then you're like, whoa, this isn't what they're accustomed to. Well, yeah, you should be accustomed to it, but you're not getting that from more people. And then when they saw the results, and then it was like, hey, they knew they could go ahead and do that. And it can go in, it has the ability to go ahead and go two different ways, right? Where the first way is that either you're not taking on enough responsibility, or then you go ahead and, put yourself on a plate and then you just take on too much. And so you got to go ahead and recognize that balance. But that's what's gone on, man.
Yeah, I mean, balance is key. Because I mean, I guess the next question was like, do, do you feel like the they have a point in what they're saying? Like, because there can be like too much rigidity, right? And then there's could the kind of just like
Oh,
the right
I
amount of rigidity.
So this is, I think, where we come to a challenge, man. And this was their like the second interview, right? And so they're still looking at the representative. They're not going. They're what they're looking at is like, hey, why did this guy show up 30 minutes early? Well, I showed up 30 minutes early because the last thing I want to go and do is be 10 minutes late. So I'll be there early. I want to scope out the building. I want to see what's going on. I want to go ahead and understand how it is. What is the security to the building, right? When I come in through the door, do they have a key lock? What are the, just the basics, man, but I consider them my basics, right? How's the office staff going to go ahead and be? What does it smell like? What are the bathrooms taken care of? I'm just going around and I'm just doing my intel, right, on a basic structure. I've done that with every job that I've ever gone to. I also think that when you look at it from the point that they were looking at, is that they were just making these, and I hate to use the word instinctual, but they were just like making these immediate responses of like, oh, I saw this in this person, I saw this in this person. They're going to go and come up with it. They've never seen me in action. They've never experienced me in a workforce. They don't recognize that, but they're going to go ahead and say, as a non-veteran or somebody who's don't hold themselves to this, the guy's kind of a slack jaw. He's kind of, and that's the way he holds himself to it. It's cool for him to go ahead and show up 15 minutes late to an interview because he was late to the interview. And I think that was something that he didn't like being called out upon, right? And I was like, "Oh yeah, man, I understand. I was just working." I told him that, "Hey man, I understand that you're late, but I'm working on some coursework." I closed my laptop and got to it. And I think he may have taken some like offense to it, as if I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Hey dude, like I was kind of on your schedule. If you realize that you're going to go ahead and be late, then you go ahead and say, 'Hey, I'm not going to be able to go and make it.'" At least some sort of, something on that side. I think on the opposite end of it is that you get that initial impression, right? And when a company gives off the initial impression, like, hey, dude, we actually don't give a shit about people's schedules, hey, if we set up a meeting at 11 and I know what, none of us can go ahead and make it, we're not going to go ahead and hold each other accountable to it. And then what are you showing like across that timeline, right? I could tell why they had, and I hate to go and say it, I could tell why their safety culture, why their culture, they needed a revamp of it. I could see that there were certain things that they had told me that had gone on within their company for the last 3 years, and how they couldn't get people to buy in, how they couldn't get members of their team to go ahead and not commit these safety violations. And it's like, yeah, because nobody takes you serious, right? It's heavy duty,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah. Safety organization. That's a whole different culture you want to build around it,
That's
right?
right.
Because it's like people's lives are in your hands, essentially.
Scary, man.
And the latter is probably something you don't want to be a part of either way.
I mean, dude, I worked as a medic, and I've worked, being someone who's seen mass casualty and someone who's seen like the worst injuries that a human could go to ever be and experienced by working in the trauma unit, man. You get to go ahead and see like what were the outliers, what were the things that got to do this, like what caused somebody to have these injuries. And oftentimes it's just basic negligence when it was that, and you're just like, man, I wonder what were like the 5 steps ahead of this that caused this type of issue, right? And I know that gets like some people's brain all racked up, but for me it was always that question, like, man, what was it that caused this gun to go ahead and go off while it was in somebody's hand? You're like, man, there was a couple steps before that they could have initiated, where things could have changed, or like, why did this person go ahead and fall from this area? I think about that, and the other side of it, being a mountain biker, man. I have to look at it so that I'm not so risk averse, and I have to be really worried about that some days. As like I have this tattoo that one of my I just put on my body not too long ago, and one of my good friends, he's from Russia. He's a rescue guy, and it says, "If you're afraid of wolves, don't go into the forest."
That's a
Right?
fair
And
point.
it's a great point, man. It's because you can't go ahead and live this like risk averse life, right? But you have to also know that there's wolves out there, man. There's going to go ahead and be risk. And you've got to recognize, what is it that I'm risking this for? What is the reward that comes to it? Why am I spending the time to go ahead and do these things? What is going to go ahead and be this benefit that I look at it, right? And sometimes the cost and benefit, sometimes they don't add up, but they add up to me. I've gone out and fucking dug trail for 10 hours at a time, and be like, dude, why did you could have been doing all these other things. I could have worked a shift at work. I could have done anything else. You're like, man, you don't understand the piece and the overwhelming joy that comes into my heart when I get to go ahead and see other people enjoy riding these trails, or I myself get to go ahead and be like, man, it's Tuesday morning, I'm gonna go ahead and go smash face. It's a great feeling, man, and those are some of the things that I really take pride in what I've been able to go ahead and get accomplished and what I've done in the last 15 years.
Yeah. No, man. What did you do in the Navy?
I was a medic, man. I was a corpsman.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
And when did you go in?
In '09.
Okay, and then after that,
So man, it's a long story, man, but I ended up I went through BUDS, man. I went through two Navy SEAL classes. I went through 272 and 273 in BUDS class. In 272, I got cellulitis and I had to spend some time in the hospital for getting an infection in my leg, and that was right before Hell Week. And then in the second class, which was a winter class, which was just brutal, man, cold, all the things that you don't ever want to go and experience going through a BUDS class. And during Hell Week, man, I broke both of my arms, and so I've got broken arms, and I've got an arm that's longer on the right side than the left side, and I've got a couple of different things that I try not to ever talk about. Things that are what would people would call limiting factors of a human, right? And then I'd spent the rest of my time working at Bud's Medical, trying to like sneak my way back into the Navy SEAL program. Like I was waiting, did everything I could to try and go ahead and get back into the program. And then the orthopedic doctor that I was seeing at Balboa Hospital, he kind of like broke my heart, man. He was like, "Look, dude," he's like, "You're going to be a hospital medic. You're going to be a corpsman for the rest of your life, and I'm not going to go and never sign off for you to try and go ahead and do anything in the special operations community. Not even like dive med tech or like anything cool." Um, and I kind of took that as I was trying to run ultra marathons. I was trying to go and do all these things to like prove the point that I could still be a badass. Um, and then he's like, dude, why don't you do something else? And then he took me down to the Wounded Warrior program. And that's really, I don't know if you've ever been around anything related to the Wounded Warrior program, but I
yeah.
took me down to the Wounded Warrior program there at Balboa. And I got to go ahead and experience that, man. And then I got out of, was given the opportunity. I got out of the Navy on a medical discharge, and they said, "Hey, dude, you're done." And I took that as like my free ticket out. And then from there, dude, I got to go ahead and go work for 2 years at the Wounded Warrior program. Dude, I loved it, man. I got to go ahead and go do some of the most like influential and great works that I've ever experienced in my life, man, working for the Wounded Warrior program.
So I heard I had somebody Jeff Dartier, right? You
Mhm.
met Jeff.
I may
Uh
have.
yeah, I've had him on, but one of the things he said on the a recent podcast I had him on, he said rejection is God's protection.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yes, you wanted to go in this, and I mean, whether this applies to you or not, but that's the first thing I thought of when he said that. Because I can see like uh, and if I'm wrong, let me know, but I can see like the fulfillment that you got from doing that job, like from being a corpsman and going through like Wounded Warrior. It's like it was almost like seemingly, from what I could tell, like you had the great honor and like you just got a lot from it.
Well, man, I mean, when I got into the Navy, what I wanted to go ahead and be was I wanted to take care of guys. I wanted to take care of soldiers, man. I wanted to go ahead and I knew that in the moment, like in the heat, man, I'm really good. Like I can put myself against some people I know that I can put myself against as a. Sorry, I'm gonna get some light back on.
You're good,
Uh,
man.
that I could put myself against most medics and most people in like scenarios. And I'm pretty good in the heat, man. I think I respond real well. And what I wanted to do was go ahead and know that I put myself in those situations and I was going to go ahead and be that guy. It's a bit of a, as I went into therapy later on, after all, I mass casualties and all kinds of other pieces, I come to find out that I got a bit of Superman complex. This is exactly what my therapist told me.
Mm.
And she said, Adrian, you got a bit of hero complex. Like you want to be Superman all the time. And it's like, yeah, that's right. And she's like, and you're pretty good at it. And I was like, yeah, I've worked my ass off to become Superman. And she said, the problem though, man, she's like, you really struggle taking off the cape. Yeah, that's the truth, man. I think a lot of us have the trouble is taking off the cape is to, what do I do when I walk through the doors after I've just, saved lives or watch people die in front of me? Like, what do you do at that point? How do you go ahead and take that off? How do I rip off the cape? And that's been kind of one of those transitions, man. And that's why I love mountain biking, bro. And I mean that I love it because I still get to go and be the medic. I still have those. I've had those opportunities, going out to races or hanging out with the dudes, and somebody gets hurt and I get to go and be the medic. Or if not, sometimes I just get to be a guy riding mountain bikes, and nobody has any other expectations other than, hey, you want to know what, you're just a dude, and you get to have that opportunity. If someone needs to go and be put in a sling, or one of the last times we went out into Arkansas, I had to go ahead and we went to go find a guy, and he was having heat exhaustion, and I had to go ahead and help him and say do all the things other than go ahead and put a thermometer up his butt. Other than that, like, it was me, being a medic, man.
I think I was
Um,
at that ride.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, Blowing Springs.
yes, man. Yeah, what a
Dude, and you
nightmare, bro.
and you you helped me. Speaking of broken bones, at the
Yeah,
Flat Creek Crossing race, I
yeah,
broke
that's
my
it, man.
freaking hand.
Yes. Yeah, man,
One
it's
of
happened.
these.
It's happened at a bunch of races, man. And I've gotten some guys. I've got a fantastic flight nurse, Nate Zabel. I've got my other buddy, Roland Espinosa, and he's a San Antonio firefighter. And that's how I've gotten these guys involved in mountain biking, gotten them involved, in the community. And they're like great medics. They're great at what they do. And it's like, hey, dude, I want to go ahead and have you do it, but this is the side that I come in at. I've been able to go ahead and join the races. I've been able to go ahead and understand the community, but it's because I get to go ahead and be that outlier. Like, hey, dude, if something does go sideways, I'm going to be here to go ahead and help you out. For the guys that, someone like yourself, right, who's constantly pushing that needle a little bit further, right? What am I doing, right? Guys that, I mean, some of the best riders that I've been around, I'll go ahead and use my buddy John Rodriguez. Well, John Rodriguez, his fear thermometer doesn't work. I love him a lot, dude, but you could just be like, hey, John, that's 18 feet. And he's like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, dude. There's a picture of John doing a no-hander off of the drop at McAllister Park. And you're like, John, why would you do that? He's like, because I thought I could. And that's it.
Did he eat it?
Oh, dude, he ain't shit. It's John. So that's it though, man. It's just there's some magic in it, man. And I really there's been so much that's been connected to it. And getting back to the idea, right, is that I wanted to go and help people out. So I looked for avenues, man. As I got out of the Navy, because I was like, dude, I felt like I didn't hit my goal. Like, I knew I was taking care of guys, and I knew that I'd become a corpsman. I knew that I'd done all these things, but I didn't go ahead and hit the level of like how I wanted to help people. So then the Wounded Warrior program was like huge for me, man, and it really helped me out to understand what I really wanted to do, which was I tried to go ahead and go to school to become a physician's assistant, and then I got to go ahead and work at University Hospital as a medic there in the trauma unit, and by working there, it got another opportunity that was like super rad, man. Is I got to go and help start a ketamine clinic. um and that was probably one of the cool that in my lifetime. I think that's probably one of the most impressive things that I've ever gotten to go and partake in, man. Is I got connected to a doctor that was he's got like 7 deployments underneath him, a guy named Carl Bonnet. Probably one of the foremost like bodies when it comes to psychedelic therapies for veterans for PTSD or PTS, whatever anybody wants to go and call it at this point. To me, it's just trauma based, man. um and we serviced, and gosh, man, when I left that clinic, I think we were like at over like 900 veterans that we had already treated.
Damn.
Yeah, man, we did, and we were doing, and it was all free. It was all free. And the place is called Clarisana, man. And Dr. Bonnet is probably one of the better humans I've ever gotten to go ahead and be around. One of those people that just believes that there's more to medicine than just popping some Motrin. There's more to the mind than just sitting back as you and I are talking right now, to go ahead and help somebody develop like and push through the trauma, right? That there's ways that you have to go and activate the mind. And one of those people that just believes in it, man, and he helped me understand those pieces. Um, and then being able to go ahead and work with some people, and man, I watched, we had bad experiences, bro. I'm not going to tell you that. Is I got to go and work with a ranger that ended up committing suicide shortly after our ketamine therapies, and it hit me real
Damn.
hard. Guy named rest in peace, man, to Robert Ellis, bro. And there was a bunch of like there was great successes that we would have, man, and we had great successes, and they're still successful, still a successful organization. I just couldn't continue working with them because there was a office manager, blah blah blah, and he and I just had to go ahead and part ways with it, man. But I was there for like 4 years, and really enjoyed what I did with the ketamine therapy. But I'll pass it off to any veteran that, or anybody actually that has, if they're suffering with deep pain, if they're suffering and they're trying not to go ahead and trying to go ahead and get off the psych meds, if they're just really starting to go ahead and find themselves down a path that they just can't, pull out of, man. The ketamine therapy, I think, is probably one of the most um, impressive and open-ended therapies that anybody can go ahead and search for. And we can get down into some real heavy duty shit when it comes to the psychedelics, man. But go ahead.
Well, I was curious, like, what your screening process is, what the screening process was for that. Like, what were the like no nos, right? It's like,
Uh, so the big no-no, man, is that you got to go ahead and look for someone that's not presenting with any type of like addictive behaviors. Right. And I'm not going to go ahead and say like mountain biking's not an addictive behavior, right? But if
yeah,
like I'm going to go ahead and utilize it if somebody comes on in and they're looking to go ahead and get high off the ketamine, right? Also, if somebody that has like, you're going to have to be honest in whether or not you've got like a history of bipolar schizophrenia, if you've got multiple personality disorder. There's a lot of things that you've got to go and be there were outliers of why you shouldn't be going through this therapy, right? Um, and it became, and it was legit, man. We had to go ahead and we had social workers. You had to go ahead and go through your psych screenings, all those pieces to go ahead and do it. And then you'd have someone like me. I had one of my cousins he's a corpsman as well. And there was a couple nurses. We had a bunch of physicians assistants, a couple people that were fantastic human beings, and we would go ahead and go through that. And then we would take people down the road, man. And it was interesting to be able to go ahead and initially we were doing it IV ketamine, and then now they've switched over to intranasal, or if not through intramuscular, because it's a little it doesn't come on as fast, but you still get to go ahead and take the ride.
yeah. Were you able to do any of those therapies? I mean, you don't have
Yeah,
to go into it if you don't want to, but
yeah, man. Yeah, I had, and I highly recommend it to anybody, man.
yeah,
It's the ability to go and step outside of yourself, man. Um, there is a necessity, I think, for many of us that have experienced trauma. I think any of us can walk through like, hey, you want to know what, we're some of this trauma is self-imposed, right? We can never go and deny that, but a lot of times it's been pushed upon us, and until you get the opportunity to be able to go ahead and like step outside of it, and that's really what it allows you to go and do, man, is it really gets to go ahead and be that option to go and suck back from reality, and then you start putting the puzzle pieces together, man. There's this idea of neuroplasticity. There's a couple ideas that you want to know what we're actually putting these building blocks together, right? The way that Carl Bonnet will go ahead and we explained to me, and we explains it to a lot of people, is that the idea of PTSD or PTS, right, is that your brain is constantly trying to go ahead and take a square block and put it in a round hole, and the round hole is in your brain, into your memory bank, because it's so traumatic and because it's so unreal and foreign. It's going to be constantly trying to go ahead and switch and take that square block and put it in the round hole, and it's constantly trying to do it so your brain can adapt to it. So it'll change its color, it'll change its shape, it'll change its movement, it'll do everything it can do to try and fit into that hole, but it leaves you with this idea of a ringing bell, and it's just constantly ringing, 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 ringing. So your body's just in this overwhelmed state of, and I hate to go ahead and say it like this, man, but you're just always in this flight or flight stage, always in this world that you're just constantly vibrating, right? And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, right? And for combat veterans, man, sometimes you're just always in sheepdog mode, always in this like, I have to go ahead and be doing something, I have to be saving something, I'm always trying to go ahead and, why do I always have to go ahead and make sure I'm looking at the front door? Why do I always go and have to go ahead and keep my sidearm on me? Why do I always carry a knife? Why do I always have that? Because it's this hypersensitive thing that we've had to go and do it as a way of learning how to go ahead and live within this world, right? But when you come to utilizing the ketamine therapy, what it does is, it's a lot of times it's those pivotal experiences, and you find out, oh shit, that's what it was. And then you get to put that block and you step back and you're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to squeeze this block a little bit and we're going to go ahead and put it down in memory bank. And it doesn't take the memory away, man. And that's the crazy part about the whole experience, is what it allows you to do is to be able to work through the memory, recognize what it was that was so foreign about that. What was so foreign about looking at a body and seeing like, hey man, no person should be forced to see a burning body. Oh, I saw a burning body. Shit. I got to deal with that, huh? You're like, yeah. And then it lets you work through it. And then they use some, some cool tricks of group, of self-talk. They use, group talk. They use a lot of different tools that you get to go ahead and have, and to be able to go and walk through it. I got to go ahead and work with a, great Marine, but she had been raped, uh,
Mm.
and it happened during active duty, man. And she and I got to go ahead and go work through that, man. And it was heavy duty to go ahead and see her talk through what she was wearing and how it was happening. And then she was like, man, this is, and was able to go ahead and go back to work, was able to go ahead and reposition herself. And she was a professional, man, fantastic human being. But by the end, it took about 10 different sessions to finally come to that. And she still needed pick me ups throughout it, because of course it's still going to go ahead and be life changing that happened. But what she was able to go ahead and do was not to accept it, but to understand it.
Mm.
What was it that took place? Yes, this is it. But her body was no longer in that point of that ringing bell theory, right? Where it's just constant agitation. You're able to go ahead and shut that off and then start from fresh. It's kind of crazy, man.
Yeah. Man, that's heavy, dude.
Bro, it's
And that's just one in like thousands or,
That's right, man. And I think all of us, I think that sometimes trauma can be very shaping. I think other times trauma can go ahead and be kind of one of those blocks that holds us from getting on to the next factor of life that we want to get to. And I think
yeah.
that's real. Is it for a lot of us? That's it. And so you have to learn like different ways of accepting it. And there's different ways that we get to go ahead and different therapies, different modalities. Some of us like to go ahead and talk. Some of us like to go ahead and go to the gym. Some of us like to be able to go ahead and like, go into the middle of the woods and be left alone and build, trails and do whatever we need to. But that's the way that we learn to go ahead and deal with it. The scary part is when you have guys that suffer alone. That's for me is why I've joined the dirt therapy. That's why I've joined this group of hooligans, is because I realized, man, that there was a point where I was building trail all by myself, and all of a sudden, like people just started showing up. It was like Field of Dreams, bro. Like literally, I was like, I bought a house in Texas, and then people just started showing up, and I was like, hey, who's that Marine that shows up, right? Who's Eddie Arcos? And Eddie just showed up, and then, dude, by the end of the time, I think there was at one point we had almost like 25 guys building Rogue Trail out. Like we would just be smashing, just cutting things down, bringing out tools, doing, and it was crazy, man. But it's because I came to understand the reason why it was, because a lot of us, we were just tired of suffering alone. It was during COVID. We hated the idea that we had to go ahead and be chopped up. We hated the fact that we were all expected to go and wear a mask, and it was just our way of getting out, man, our way of getting away from it all. And we were able to go ahead and just build, even though the city didn't like it, and we got, cease and desist and all this other nonsense, man. It was a really great experience for me to go ahead and have.
To some extent, that was probably exciting too, right? Like getting
Oh,
the cease and desist.
dude, it was, well, man, we were, if you
Because
ever
like
meet if you ever meet Joe Dominguez, man, I don't know if you've ever
no,
ridden
I
or,
know, I know, Joe.
yeah, man, you ever get the chance to go ahead and meet Joe Dominguez, you could imagine there's like 50 Joe Dominguez's in the woods, bro. We're gonna go ahead and start doing hooligan and shit. There's
Yeah,
gonna be fires, there's gonna go ahead and be pallets, there's gonna go ahead and be, we're gonna start romping around. It starts to go ahead and become that, and it becomes this great experience. And sometimes people consider that so foreign, man. It's so foreign to other people when they start to see that they think that something bad is going to go ahead and take place. And realistically, man, it's not. It's who we are. We're a bunch of wild men, dude. We're a bunch of cavemen. We want to go and have that just real. It's a surreal experience, right? For a bunch of guys to go and get together and you're hooting and hollering versus having to go ahead and be like so content, so held in. Like, oh, I can't go ahead and scream and yell. And I want
yeah,
to, I want to, scream. I mean, I walk into rooms sometimes and I, pump my fist. I'm like, fire it up, fire. And people just look at me and like, oh, you guys don't do that. And I'm like, man, I miss the military days when that it's like commonplace, right? It was
yeah.
commonplace for us to go ahead and act like this. And so that was another part that I thought was fantastic. And it didn't, and a lot of times it wasn't veterans, man. What it was just dudes, man. It was just people that wanted to go and get out. Some cool checks too, right? But there was humans that got out to go ahead and have this experience, and they got to go ahead and come into the woods, and they got to go ahead and see like there was more to it, right? There was more than what they had been exposed to when it came to mountain biking. And I felt like we were one of the pivotal reasons why San Antonio's got a better mountain bike culture.
Yeah, man. It was I mean, I came in just around that time. I did get to ride 700 acres a few times. And yeah, man, it was a good time, dude. It was like part of it, right? Because I mean, bureaucracy on any level is it's slow, man. And
Yes.
unfortunately, if the people that are making the decisions do not ride bikes or understand what trail building is, or never played in the woods, or understand the culture, right? And I've had that conversation often with a lot of different people, as I'm sure most of us have. It's like, man, like San Antonio is their whole industry is tourism. So why wouldn't you try to invest and use the green spaces if you kind of have this like um what's it called, a grassroots kind of movement, especially during COVID, and like you like focus on what's it called, quality of life, for the city. I mean, I'm not. They have been building trails, but it takes forever, right? And in that meantime, right, when you're kind of asked to be stuck inside, that was the only safe place, right? Quote unquote safe place. Because I found myself in the woods too. Like it didn't affect me. I just started writing then.
That's right.
So I was constantly out there, like, and I didn't get it. I mean, thankfully, I was blessed to not. I wasn't working during that time, and I was just kind of exploring the trails and stuff. I had just retired, so yeah, man, it was definitely it. Are you from San Antonio?
Yeah, man. I'm born and bred. Yeah, I grew up in the South Side, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I thought. Because you're just like it almost seemed like you're like coming, like you bought a house in San Antonio, but that was when you were leaving the Navy.
Yep.
Um, what school did you go to?
I went to South San, man.
South San. That's right.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate?
In '01.
Well, one. I graduated in '97.
Nice, man. I'm
Yeah,
right behind you, bro. The
yeah,
grays are coming
man.
soon.
Yeah, I got
The
Chino
grays are
Canas,
coming.
dude.
So yeah, man, it's man, I'll tell you like the backstory to the bikes, man, is that my buddy name is Luis. I'm trying to go and get y'all connected. I was 21 years old, man, when he got me out on a bike. And dude, I had never like, of course, man, I enjoyed, partying, enjoyed this and that, dude. But I've fallen in love at that from that like day on, dude. Is being out on bicycles, man. There's something about it, dude. I don't know if it's the fact of like it's similar to riding motorcycles, which I don't know if you ride motorcycles or had that experience, man.
I don't trust
But
myself.
it's yeah, well, that's the thing is it's just the speed to me is just the feeling of just going, man. Something about it, dude. I think it has a very primal experience. Like it's like how if we were chasing after something in the woods to try and go hunt.
Or
I think
riding
it
a
has.
horse. Yeah,
Yes, exactly, man. Exactly. To me, I think that's what has that connection for me. And getting back to the whole trail building thing in San Antonio, man. I think the biggest challenge, man, is that I believe that San Antonio's problem has got a bit of the brown crab thing going on. You got a bunch of people that didn't know how to band together. You've got
oh, I'm
groups
tracking.
here, groups there, and
Yeah.
then one group would come, then the other group would pull each other down. It was never where you could go ahead and have like I mean I've seen videos of places in Utah, places in Colorado, places in Arkansas, dude, where you band up 100 people and they've all got it all together. They just all get together and they just start smashing trail, bro. You're gonna go ahead and have that, and then you get a positive response. But when you go ahead and have them start attacking each other, or you go ahead and get this different forums of, this person does this and this person does that and this person does this, you can never go ahead and get enough people combined, man. And I think that was one of the biggest things, and it's still probably to this day for San Antonio. I live on the road now, man. I'm constantly, moving and traveling with what my new job lets me to, but I get to go and see these amazing trail networks. I got to go and go up to, I don't know if you've ever been to Oklahoma, but Turkey Mountain, right?
Not
Turkey
yet.
Mountain,
I know of it.
dude, highly recommend, bro. Highly recommend. It was an old dump, like almost to the T of what OP Schnabel, or like probably same elevation as OP, maybe about the same um as Pearsall Park, man. Not much elevation, probably less than 150 feet, dude, but cool features, incredible rock stuff. That's been done. But what they did is they had a group of people that were just dedicated. You had enough souls that were like, hey, you want to know what? We're going to show up weekend after weekend after weekend. And that's what it is, man. And there were some good times that we had some steam. I felt like there was some good steam that happened. My buddy John, Patrick Jarvis, man. Well, Patrick, love you, man. Some of these great people, we were able to go ahead and start getting some speed up. And now you can go and see as the way that those seeds were planted. I went to San Antonio over the holiday, man, and I got to go and see the new things that are happening at OP Schnabel. I was able to go ahead and ride every pump track that's there now in San Antonio. I was able to now I went up to Chase Hill and got to see some of the trails that's out there. I don't know if you've ridden Chase Hill, man, but Chase Hill is not
It's been
bad.
a while, dude. I like Chase Hill, but it's been a while because they were calling the cops and getting cars towed and shit. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then there
So it's
was
like,
a it turned into like private, I don't know, something. And then over by Eisenhower too, there's some trails there that they're
yes.
supposed to bring in an Imba trail too, but I honestly haven't heard the latest on that.
Well, I mean, I also think, man, is that I'm at the point where it's like I know that San Antonio's not home because it doesn't. There's a part of my lifestyle that I have to go ahead and have, which is I have to go ahead and mountain bike, man. I've got to
Yeah,
go ahead and have that around. So wherever I situate myself next, like when I get to go and plant hard seeds about where I'm gonna go ahead and it's like, dude, I've got to have mountains. I've got to go ahead and have some things that are necessary, and I've got to go and be at a place where I can just and I hate to call Arkansas maybe one of the options, Tennessee, Carolinas, places, some places it's going to go ahead and have a legitimate mountain bike community. Maybe it's going to go ahead and be Galbraith Mountain. There's a couple places where I've looked at where I'm like, dude, this is where I want to go and be at because I know that that's part of my drug. I have to go ahead and have that on a daily habit. If not, then it's got to go and be. That's just who I am. I've come
yeah,
to understand like if there's most people that know Adrian, like if you're going to be my friend, it's because we ride mountain bikes. Because I get out and go and play. If not, I'm going to go and have a shovel or have to do some things like that. And it's just the way I am. I can't go ahead and explain it. I like getting out and playing in the woods. It's a fantastic feeling. It's either hiking, it's mountain biking, it's jumping in the water. It's just a part of my person.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a part of all of us, but a lot of people have forgotten what we
Yes.
are. Is they're disconnected, especially like in cities like San Antonio, and you go further back, right? The culture, right? Like I didn't know these trails were here, and that's not too fault of my parents or nothing. It's just like we used to go to Canyon Lake and stuff, but like that was every so often. But like hiking wasn't a thing, right?
No.
Like I mean, I rode bikes, but it was in the street, right? We were trying to jump like sheetrock and shit, whatever we could find across the street. You know what I mean? It was just
Yes,
like kind
bro.
of whatever, right? Trying to do whatever, and then your bike gets stolen, and I
Well,
fucking go
it's
find it.
it's our we weren't given, that's the one thing that I think that I think about is that I probably work more hours than my dad did, but I also then took the time I still take the time to be able to go out and have adventure. And I can't remember them having adventure. For them, it was always a struggle. They always scraping
Yeah,
the earth.
and that's what I
Um,
mean.
and I don't think that was part of like the habit or lifestyle that was ever like presented to them. It was just always, my dad was a migrant worker. My mom, she worked her ass off. She was a substitute teacher and then worked as a teacher's aide, man. They didn't have much. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, but you still didn't, there was never the point of like searching for adventure. I think for them, they were
Yeah,
just always in this like world of just survival, man. And maybe
yeah,
that's a misstatement or maybe me not understanding what was actually going on, but I felt like that was kind of what was taking place. But you look around the whole like that whole generation, man, there wasn't national parks. I don't know anybody that like from they grew up in my hood that was like, hey, we're gonna go ahead and go to Yellowstone.
yeah,
It's like, dude, the farthest you would go ahead and get is like I'm gonna go to Garner State Park and then go jump
yeah.
out of trees and shit.
Dude, you want to hear something crazy?
What's up, man?
There was, and this is kind of like a running joke. I mean, looking back on it, it's kind of fucked up. But there was some neighbors of our right in my neighborhood. Like when they finally went fishing, like they were driving by. I think they're supposed to go to Corpus. No, they're supposed to go. I forgot where they're going, but they passed Calaveras, and they're like, "Oh, mira, it's like the ocean." Like they never left. It's fucking sad. It's kind of fun. We laugh, when we're younger, but looking back on it now with some wisdom, right? I was like, it's pretty sad. Like they never left. Like, and so for you guys that don't know, like Calaveras is on the outside of San Antonio, but in
Barely.
their mind, like that was the first time seeing a big body of water that they or he thought it was the ocean, dude. He thought it was Corpus. It's crazy, right? And I'm sorry, let me give it some context. He was like 45, 46.
Yes. I wouldn't
Yeah,
doubt it,
man.
man. You,
Yeah.
you're talking about people that it's been hard ingrained to them, and I hate to go ahead and say it, dude, is that it's the community in San Antonio was like, hey, dude, you want to know what? You're gonna work Monday through Friday, or maybe Monday through Saturday. Get drunk on Saturday night. Sunday morning, you're gonna go ahead and wake up. You maybe go to church. You're gonna go watch some Cowboys, and you get ready for the next day, bro. There
Yep.
was rare that you were gonna go ahead and step out of that. I think that that's the one thing that I've come to understand with like my generation is that a lot of us have left the hood, man. A lot of us have left that, and we're searching for more, right? And for me, like the more has come about. It's come about like, dude, what is more? What's out there? I've not decided to go ahead and be like, man, I'm gonna work at Lackland, or I'm gonna go ahead and work at Kelly, or I'm gonna have these, this pivotal job. It's how I had to go and separate myself. I think my time in the military though was pretty pivotal with that, man, because I wanted to get out and see more. And when I got to go and meet people and they're like, dude, you've never been anywhere, and I'm like, yeah, man. Like first time I got into the ocean, I was, 24, 25 years old. And
Yeah.
I got to go and
Wow.
swim in San Diego Bay. I was spitting up saltwater and I was like, dude, what the fuck is this? And
Yeah.
and people were like, dude, you've never lived? And I'm like, no, man. And I don't know if it's a San Antonio thing, man. Maybe it's an Hispanic thing. I don't really know, bro. I can't go and put my thumb on that, but what I can go and say is that I'm praying that I don't go and pass this on to my kids.
Yeah.
That my kids get to go and have the experience, that I get to go and show them that there's more. And I've read this great book, man, and it talks about there's a difference between being rich and wealthy. It's called
Yeah.
The Psychology of Money, right?
Okay.
And what the guy gets down to, man, is that there's a difference between, and the way you know the difference between a person who's rich and a different person who's wealthy, it's the way that they invest, right? And a person that's rich will invest in things. They'll invest in a Dooney and Burke purse, and they'll invest in things, something that they can go and buy, so they can someone can ask them about it, hey, dude, check out my Ferrari, check out my new Silverado truck that's got 24-inch rims. By on the opposite spectrum, you're going to go and have someone who's wealthy, and a wealthy person is someone who's going to go ahead and invest in time, invest in memories, right? So they go out and go ahead and say, yes, I may go ahead and drive a 2004 Subaru, but guess what? I can go ahead and tell you what the rim of the Grand Canyon looks like, right? I can go ahead and
Yeah.
show you these photos and these experiences to go ahead and say that I know what Glacier National Park looks like, right? In comparison, you could go ahead and have people who are like, "Oh yeah, well, look at my rings that I go ahead and have, or look at,
Yeah.
I went to I bought this thing, right?" And none of it has any value towards the end. It may have it for them, but they said that that's where we have to go ahead and be very literal in the way that we go and invest in ourselves. And so I've taken that to heart, man. I try and go and be as much of a minimalist as I can, except when it comes to buying mountain bikes, because I spend a lot of money on
Yeah.
bikes.
To be fair, and I'm biased in this, but like those those are vehicles that take you where you're using them, right?
That's
And you're
right.
investing in them, and it's taking you to places you can't get to with a vehicle. And you got to
Dude.
work for it, and you get to share it with people that sometimes strangers, sometimes good friends, right? But you take in this awe that people rarely ever see because they're always on their phone. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's the hacking of biology and like in social media and technology that is the awe, right? Oh man, look at this brand new, iPhone 32 or whatever it is on now, right? I refuse to get a new one, but
Same here, bro.
yeah,
Same
like
here.
I'm considering just deleting all my social. That's a whole different subject. But
Yes.
yes, to your point, I know I saw a pivot Firebird today. Like it's a white one. Have you seen the new white one?
Yes.
Dude,
I
I saw it at Crossroads today, and I was fucking looking at Sean. I was like, because I haven't. I still have the same Firebird I bought like in 2021, 2022,
yeah.
and it's great, man. I mean, I either way. To your point, yes, that vehicle takes you to experience at all. And then if you're blessed enough to have your kids ride along with you, you can share that with them.
Yeah, man. My son for his so my oldest gets his first e-bike this year. So
Nice.
Hagerman has a medium uh turbo levo that
Yeah,
that
I
I
know
was
what
able
you're
to
talking
go.
about.
Yeah, I was able to go ahead and we made a sweet deal on it. Um, and I was like, hey, dude, I think it's gonna go ahead and be that. And then my middle child, I got him the Stasic, man. And yeah, dude, and they live on where they're staying at right now. Since I'm working on the road, man, they're staying on multiple acres, and there's a couple hundred acres behind them. They're in San Diego in the mountains, man. So they're gonna go ahead and utilize those bikes often. And that's
Nice,
it, man. That's
dude.
what I want for them.
I want to go riding in San Diego. No, dude, and that's
There's a
awesome,
brand new
especially
bike.
they're
There's a brand
riding.
new bike park that just opened there.
I heard. It's
Yeah.
a like public, right? It's a public bike park.
No, it's a place called Luiseño. It's they're right. It's on an Indian reservation, and so
Okay.
they're working to go ahead and do that. But there's fantastic riding in SoCal, man. There's Temecula. There's some fantastic places to go ahead and get down on. That's where Aaron Gwynn does most of his training at. What?
There's a really good dude that he went with us. We met him in Utah, and then he went to the Angel Fire retreat last year. Alex, I
Okay,
don't know if you met him. Either way, he's in northern. He's in Los Angeles, but
right
he's
on.
a damn good rider too. He's a good dude. He's recovering from a shoulder injury. He did what was it? Uh, there's an enduro series that's right after Bike Fest in California, or Sea Otter, that everyone goes to. TDS, I think that's what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Either
Yes,
way, he
invite only.
yeah, he jacked up his shoulder there last year. I was supposed to go with him too, but I couldn't. Something happened. I forget what happened. Either way, man, yes, the bike, it's a good amount of money, but you're using it like that investment, and if you play your cards right and take care of it, it'll last you a while, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
but
man. Well, if I think the addictive personality that I have, and what I've seen that other people have done, dude, you can waste that much money on drugs and
a lot of
alcohol
things, yeah,
and bad choices, man. You know,
dude.
one bad night in Thailand is what I try to refer to
Yeah,
as.
yeah, it might last a lifetime in some
Yes,
cases. So I remember you said something earlier that I was kind of curious about. When you say did you always, like when you were a kid, like did you always have that like kind of, and it's got a negative connotation, I feel, but like I don't think it. I see it as a good thing, right? I think we need more like people that feel like they could help, right, at an extreme level, and then they put in the work ethic to do so and actually do it. But do you feel like you always had like that Superman complex, if you will?
man. I'm gonna get pretty heavy right here now, bro. And we can edit this out if we want to, and later on.
That's
So
up to you.
I grew up in a real abusive household, man. Real abusive. My dad was an animal, treated people poorly. Um, and my older brother, he'll be a person that he's a Marine. He needs testaments. That's another reason why he wanted the Marine Corps. Um, but there's the point where you come to feel like you're helpless. And where you're just there and you're like, man, I'm just gonna go ahead and sit back, and you got to catch beatings. You're gonna catch hands. You're gonna go ahead. It was a constant, bro. It was a constant. It's just he was an animal. It's the way he was taught. You're taught to go ahead and train animals, and my grandpa trained animals. And so he thought that humans learned the same way, which is to beat the shit out of them. You had to go ahead and
Yeah,
teach him with the fist. So there was times when I had to go ahead and when I came to understand later on why I had that, it's because I didn't want anybody to ever have that feeling of feeling hopeless, where I didn't want anybody to go ahead and have that feeling where there was no one there to watch out for them. Where, when I was a kid, I would look for the bully. I would look for the person that was going out to hurt somebody. It wasn't that I was the bully. By no means. I was never that kid. What I was is I was going to go ahead and look for the kid that was picking on somebody. I was looking for someone to go ahead and protect. I would go ahead and be like, hey man, who's the skinniest fucking scrawny kid around here? I'm a big guy, right? And I'd go ahead and hang out with them. Hey, what's up, dude? This, and that. One of my friends still to this day, dude, he's maybe 135 pounds to this day as a grown man. Great, one of the best human beings I know, though. But that's the way that I positioned myself, man. And I knew that that's who I needed to go ahead and be. It was a part that I learned as like a coping mechanism, was that I wasn't going to go ahead and be, there's a way that people talk about. There's the type A, then type B, and then type C personalities, right? A type A is you're going to act just like your parents. You're going to do what they've done. Right. This is what he explained to me, one of the Buds instructors. He said type B is you're going to go and go complete opposite of them. Right. And then type C was you're going to go and take the good that your parents did, and then you're going to go ahead and create your own path with it. But you're going to take some of that good that they tried to go ahead and show you, but you're never going to go ahead and take the trauma. I wasn't going to go and try and divert from the opposite of what they did. So I tried to go and become one of those type C people, man. But for me, it was really understanding as I've grown through my life, is that it was, I had to go ahead and have these negative experiences. I had to go ahead and have this, but it caused this thing inside of me to always be hyper vigilant, always be on the ready to go ahead and catch hands, always ready to go ahead and be like, fuck, what's going to go ahead and be thrown at me? What's going to go ahead and happen? Who do I have to go and do it? So I was constantly reading the room, man. And I learned then I could go ahead and utilize that as a skill set. And I had to go and utilize that as a skill set as I would go ahead and be. We get incoming a trauma patient. Somebody had just gotten shot, somebody had that, and what I could go and do then is utilize that same skill set to go and start reading the room. What are the things that are necessary right now? How can I go ahead and ensure that this person's going to go ahead and live? I was able to then look at all the possibilities of what was going to go ahead and be a risk, what was going to go ahead and be something that could go ahead and hurt me, what was something that could go ahead and be helpful, and I was able to manage that, man. And I hate to go and say it, but and actually I don't have to hate to say it. I can go and say it in a positive thing. Is that what it did? Is it gave me this ability to go ahead and look for all the avenues at which I could go ahead and deflect. What is it that I could go ahead and stop? And it worked out really well, man. It's worked out really well in all parts of my career because I get to go ahead and have this forethought. I kind of like think of it as almost telling the future because I get to come into an area and I get to go and look for all possible things that could hurt somebody, right? All possible things, and it works out really well as a safety person. I come into and I automatically go ahead and create this what they call a risk register, and I look at all things and I think of them and how they could go ahead and have an effect upon somebody, what they could do to hurt somebody, what they could do to benefit, and my brain just kind of registers that because I always had to do that as a kid, man. You'd walk on in and you'd have to look and be like, okay, the old man's watching TV, and if we fucking walk in front of the TV, you're gonna go ahead and get hit, and you had to go ahead and know these things, man, and you had to go ahead and understand it, and I came to utilize that, and I utilized it towards high school, and continued to go ahead and take it on with me, man. And it became something that I felt was very pivotal towards becoming the man that I am now.
Yeah, dude. I was thinking. I was excuse me. I was thinking about. I've had, and I think that's why like people are so high functioning. And what I'm hearing is like pattern recognition.
Correct.
Because somebody brought that to my attention before, and I was like, I never thought about it that way. Because I different circumstances, but the same amount of unpredictability and chaos, right? Um, and I don't. I've gotten to the point now where I can look at the situation and appreciate it, and like appreciate the experience that my parents are going through. More specifically, my mom. Uh, but with that, I was talking to somebody, and they're like, well, because it was almost like a sixth sense, right? Like where I can just even like in the world today, I can see the patterns of where we're going. I can see. I mean, I know as human beings, we're designed that way, right? Where we can pick up the patterns like in nature. But even more so, like I think it's really like honed in. Like if you grew up in a very safe environment, then you're probably not as aware of everything going on, right? Or if they told you to kind of just keep your head down, like you're conditioned differently. But in a place where it's a constant threat from an unpredictable pattern or states, you try to pick up on everything. So fast forward now,
It's
now
well, it's
you're able
designed
to,
as an empath, man.
yeah, you could see the subtle without even thinking about it. Second nature, you can see like the subtle changes in the facial the facial patterns if somebody's upset, happy, pleased, etc. And yeah, it's wild, man. But at the same time, it's kind of give you this. I mean, granted, I'm pretty sure through a lot of work and stuff, you've come to this understanding that it's putting you in the place where you're at now and makes you successful at your job.
It's taken some time, man. And I'm gonna be honest, is that it's a constant and I'll get back to the same thing that the guy was like, hey man, you just seem like you're, rigid and you're this, and you're like, yeah, man, because I realized that if that uh goes unchecked, and it can go ahead and then it has the opposite side, right? I believe wholeheartedly in the Jungian theory of the shadow man. I believe that the best good that I am is the exact bad that I can be, so you have to go ahead and have that in check. You have to go ahead and realize that, and so then that's why I also do what I do, because I also realize that I've got uncles that are alcoholics. I've got uncles that have spent time in jail because they have that same characteristic. They still have that greatness they can go ahead and be, but the thing that they don't have, um, is sadly was the discipline, right, was the ability to go and shut off that animal, was to be able to go and say, no, I'm not going to go and commit myself to these fouls. So I was able to then go and use that, and I use it on a daily basis of like, hey, I wake up at this time, I hit the gym at this time, I'm going to do these type of things. And it gives me the ability to go and focus, but then it also lets me know that I'm diverting just a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the left. And what that does, it takes me away from the idea that I'll ever be a criminal, the idea that I'll ever go ahead and have to not look at my kids with like any type of shame in my eyes. And that to me is crucial, right? So I think that you're right, man, is the ability to be able to read the room, but then also to go ahead and read myself, right? To check myself. And I think that's why I'll turn back to the idea of mountain biking, because sometimes we need those hard resets, right? I don't
Yeah.
know about you, man, but there's been times when I get on the bike and I'm not the same person when I get off.
Yeah, I was there. I know what you're talking about. It was that early on for me as well, and it's brought me to the place where I'm at now. So much so that injury I kind of talked about earlier, breaking my hand, that kind of gave me a lesson in like not to be one dimensional because it's like the way I'm writing and the way I don't know if it's sustainable. So like if this is the one thing that's bringing me therapy, right, my new addiction, if you will,
Correct.
like if I can't write anymore for whatever reason, I don't want to be dependent on this one thing. And then it defines not only defines me, but it also kind of pigeonholes me. So I just took that lesson, and I started to do other things that I used to do and new things just to kind of be more arrows in the quiver, so to speak. Um, so that way I can always fall back on something, right? Because I don't want to be in that place that I was again. Um, but having conversations with like yourself, and then seeing the parallels of like childhood and being so crucial to the way we move in the world and the way we see the world and the way the world like sees us, right?
Correct.
Which is the harder part, right? You don't know based off the people's experiences how they view you and like whether good or bad. Um, but yeah, man, and that's one of you brought something else up earlier about mountain biking. That's one of the things I love about it is like I don't. It's very few instances where I've heard somebody like, "Hey, what do you do?" Like, I don't know what people are doing professionally until like years later. Like, oh, that dude's a doctor. What? That's crazy. But like, you don't know that, right? Because it's just like this neutral space that we're just kind of all connecting on with bikes. And I think you talked about it earlier. I was going to say this real quick. I
Hmm.
think it's that tie back to one like a restore point that we have as kids if we were like fortunate enough to have bikes as a kid.
Yeah, no, man. I'll use. I think of it more. I know you're saying it's about thinking about who the person is or do whatever. I think of that part in Fight Club when they go ahead and it's Jared Leto and a couple different pieces, and they're like, dude, I didn't care who he was, but this guy was a god when he was in the ring, right? And that's what a lot of us are, right? Like, it doesn't. There's not a background. There isn't a this. There isn't a. There isn't. Hey, what does Robbie Wells actually do? What does Simon? Nobody, it's not that. You come in and we kind of like geek out on each other's bikes because you're like, dude, that's a cool bike. Oh, dude, that's a cool bike. Oh, that's a cool bike. And then we just start to go ahead and smash, right? And there's not going to be a judgment for the guy who shows up on a Schwinn. You're just going to be like, dude, you're
Yeah,
going to break your fucking bike. You know,
yeah,
there's going to go ahead and be like, hey, dude, you showed up. The guy that doesn't, hey, dude, why are you always wearing a full face? You're like, because I have an ugly face. I'm going to smack my head.
it's
All,
110 degrees.
exactly. Exactly. There's never going to be that point of judgment, but that's what I think of it as, man. I think of it more as like, and we can't, we're all, none, we all, and there's the opportunity that there's going to go and be risk, right? We're all going to go and we could go and get hurt. We could go and have it, but with the reward is going to go and be this automatic dump of dopamine and serotonin. We automatically go out and have that experience. It's not like you're running around your neighborhood and oh man, this sucks. Like it's more of the community, right? And I go out riding on my own often, and I have those singular experiences. But some of the best experiences that I've had, I've been with a group, and you get to go ahead and look at it, and you just like, wow. Like, this is great. This is great for everybody, huh? This is perfect, right? And I think to me that's the whole band, right? That's the idea of it. And then, getting back to the dirt therapy thing is that you get to go ahead and realize like everybody is having that fantastic experience. You're not going to go ahead and hear the man, I'm sorry, I'm holding you up, because we've already heard that. We've already know like, hey, dude, nobody's going to tell you that. Nobody's going to get pissed off that you're the last. Nobody's going to go ahead and be pissed off that your bike is making funny noises. We're just glad that you're here,
Yeah.
right?
And we've all been there. We've all been like at the
Yes,
back, like
yes,
huffing and puffing.
yes, man. And then inviting things. And I think that's been one of the other things that I really enjoy, man, is that I've been able to go ahead and see how inviting people into the world of that I've like built on how to manage like who I am, the stress that I live through, the things that I have to go and experience, but then showing them like, hey, dude, if you jump on two wheels, it could get better. And they're like,
Yeah.
what? Like, what? And like, yeah, man, just try it out, man. I've got a great friend that I've introduced. You got to go ahead and meet him, a guy named John Leone. Yeah, he didn't. We had to go and teach him the whole free ride, rewrite, or
Oh
free ride,
yeah.
rewrite, free ride. I didn't. I should have been a little more tactical with teaching him those things. But the guy's a hell of a human being, man. But he's really seen a whole lot of growth with himself, spiritually, mentally, professionally, after he's jumped on two wheels. Because at that point, he was kind of stagnant, not realizing it. One of my buddies is a rescue firefighter. His name's Roland Espinosa, man. And this guy just rode across Iowa. I remember the first time helping him jump on a bicycle. And we jumped on a legitimate Walmart Schwinn, and we rode for like 20 miles. And the guy's like, "Why would I ever do this again?" And then I called him up a week later. You want to ride bikes? And he's like, "Yeah, dude, I want to ride bikes again." And now he's done all these things, man. He's gone out and done a bunch of adventures. But for him, he's understood that that's a way that he has the ability to go ahead, and because he's experienced a whole bunch of trauma, man. You've worked as a firefighter paramedic forever. He's been there for 16 years for the city of San Antonio. San Antonio's a rough space, so for him to be able to realize like that's his way of getting out, way of adventure, and it's also, realizing like, dude, you can get a bunch of people together. I get some shit every now and then from, the wife and friends about having so many extra bikes, and you're like, dude, you have no idea. When you can go ahead and put somebody on an extra bike, it's such a fantastic, it's a
Dude,
huge.
yeah, I'm with you on that. Like you said a lot of good things there, and there are like a lot of benefits, right? To find that tribe and just be in the woods and just kind of just being whatever, just being yourself, right?
Yeah.
And just riding bikes and the endorphins that are kicking up, and then you do like some type of real, you save, like you have a nice save because you almost ate shit, and then like that
Or the
adrenaline that
opposite, you
spikes,
eat
right?
shit.
Oh yeah, that's the opposite too. But that's also humbling, right? I've
It
learned a lot
is,
from
man.
my
It
crashes.
is. It is.
But yeah, going back to it, I bet you my neighbors think I have a serious addiction because I have Sandy has more bikes than me. She has three. But either way, my point is like
They're
there's
your bike, she's holding on to them, bro.
yeah. But like either way, it's like it's that point exactly. I want to sell them, right? I want to sell a couple of them, and I'll lend them out. But it's for that very reason, right? Like, hey man, I have an extra bike. If you want to try it, jump on. Let's go. Um, because to see that face, the smile on their face, even if it's just like a normal chill ride, it's I don't know. I think it's like it's a reminder, like, hey man, you're not dead yet. You know what I mean? Like you can still do things because I think we start to adopt these ideas of like that we hear from other people like, oh, I'm too old, I can't do that anymore, or like it's like their life's behind them, because they just hear it all the time at work or your parents saying it or whatever, and they start to just kind of fall apart, man.
I think that you hit it right on the head, man. It's what other people or what other they've understood, like this is how I should be living my life, you
Yeah,
know, um, or how it comes. But I just think that when and I think that we have this ability for like magnetism, right? We have the ability to go and draw things in, good or bad, whatever we're searching for. And oftentimes we can go and pull in this greatness, right? I've been able to go and have great friends, and I get them involved. We get involved in mountain biking, and they just go ahead and sometimes they go crazy, right? I'll go ahead and use Nate Zabel. You probably know
yeah, I
Nate.
know, Nate.
Nate showed up to 700 acres on a Schwinn, like 3 weeks later, he showed up on a nuke proof mega, and he's like, dude, I'm in. And he's now, he's been all in, man. The
Yeah.
guy in highs and lows, and just this phenomenal thing, man. But he's a healer himself, man. And I know that the because I've been in that trauma room, I know the things that he's seen, is that I know that that's one of the ways that he uses it to be able to say, hey, you want to know what? My gift is that I heal. My gift is that I'm a helper. But my burden is the fact that I walk away with these memories. I walk away with this hurt. I walk away with these pieces. So he has the ability, or we have the ability to say, hey, you want to know what? But if you use this as a vehicle, you can probably go ahead and get some of this to go away. You can go ahead and kind of create this thing that you'll be able to go and kind of let it all wash over, and a lot of times it's not, it can, like you said, man, you have to diversify. You can't just always be like, I got to go and do it this way. Sometimes it's like, oh, if it's all the one day a week you get to get out, then you go and have it. Sometimes I'll double stack, man. I'll go and be like, I'm gonna ride my bike, and then I'm gonna go for a hike, and then I'm gonna go and jump in some water,
Yeah.
and I'll just be like, oh, I got my dose, and then I feel fantastic, man.
Yeah. Mountain biking is like almost like a microdose, I guess,
Correct.
because it. What I mean by that is kind of you're talking about earlier with ketamine, right? It gives you like this 30,000 foot view of whatever's going on in your life, or what you've experienced to that point. But with mountain biking, it allows you to kind of have that space. You'll be processing through your head sometimes, but then you're able to kind of like it's like going for a walk, right? Except like the answer comes within the ride, or like it's
Correct.
not as bad, right? And it kind of takes you out of that headspace and gives you like a different perspective. And if you're lucky enough to be riding with somebody, and you kind of just bounce an idea off of them or something that you'd be surprised that like they have the like I don't know the answer or they had a similar experience.
It's that, man, and it's also just that you get to see the level of accomplishment, man. That you get to go ahead and watch, like, when you're like, hey, dude, you're gonna take that drop, like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna go ahead and go for it. Hey, man, you're gonna go ahead and go for this, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna send it. I'm gonna give it I'm gonna give it a tug, and then you get to see that, like, man, I didn't think I could do this.
Yeah,
And I mean, I know that you probably have listened to this guy named Andrew Huberman, right? And he
yeah.
talks that there's this, I don't know what part of the brain it is, some sort of large Latin word, that says that when we do uncomfortable things that we really want to go and do, this part area of your brain grows, right?
Angular
Um,
mid-singular cortex,
yes, yes, you
something
listen
like
to it,
that.
man.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah.
that, right?
I
I
don't know
told
how
you
I remember that
it's a,
shit, but
it's a
yeah,
big ass word, right?
yeah, yeah.
But that's exactly what I
Mid-angulars.
figure a lot of mountain biking is, man. Is it's that ability to go ahead and say, I'm doing something uncomfortable, and I'm then going to accomplish it. And then once I accomplish it, I grow. My mind and my whole body starts to go ahead and feel this. There's an aura of confidence that starts to go ahead and present itself when you look at, man, I can do this. Well, what else can I go ahead and do in my professional life?
Right.
Right? Man, I can go ahead and drop the hammer. Dude, I bet you I could go and drop the hammer in life. I can do
Yeah,
these things, right? And not only that, like, it also is a humbling experience, right? When you go ahead and wake up and you got three broken ribs and you got this and you got that, and you're like,
yeah.
damn it. Oh, it happened again. And you're like, oh, this is probably the world telling me to go ahead and slow down a little bit.
Yep.
Maybe I need to go ahead and be a little more concise with this. And then you're like, okay, I need to go and deep dive, right? And to me, that's when I call it my cocooning time. It's when I get to go ahead and I make a hard shell around me and I start to go ahead and wait. And I wait for things to go ahead and settle. And I read and I spend the time to go ahead and hard dive. And what have I been doing? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Am I listening to the world? Am I interrupting? Am I doing all these things? And then I come back out and I'm like, okay, fresh Adrian. This is who I needed to go ahead and be.
Yeah. Just like a reset.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's one thing I like. So bailing is a skill, like bailing off your bike. Crashing is a skill. Recovery is a skill.
Yeah.
And that's something I had a lot of practice of, like in the last first 4 years of riding. Was like how to recover, and I started going into like I would forget his name right now. He talks about Joe Dispenza.
Hmm.
Talks about visualization and healing and seeing the cells, and so I would take those X-rays if I break something or whatever, and I would like, okay, like that's my heal time. I'm gonna try to beat that heal time, and I would just take time and just focus like mentally on seeing, like visualizing, like I don't know, whatever, like um builders kind of filling
Yeah.
in the bone, right? Long story short, that on top of so it kept me busy. I was eating right, I was getting acupuncture, and I was doing all the things I needed to, and I saw like a challenge, like I'm gonna beat the timeline that they told me. So it was like almost like racing in a different way, if that makes sense.
It
Um,
does, man. It
yeah,
all it did is you just pivoted the mission, man.
yeah,
That's all it was. You just pivoted and you looked at something else. You just said, "Hey, you want to know what? I'm going to go and take this mission-driven and purpose-driven life." Right? I hate to go and sound cliche, and I don't want to hate. Sounding cliche, right? But it really is. You found a separate purpose. You took that and you're like, okay, this is my new purpose. My new purpose is to heal, right? My new purpose is to go and do this, and you do that. And us being, people who, yeah, want to call us survivors, right? Because you've learned survival. You've learned how to go ahead and take care of yourself. You've learned to go ahead and supersede expectations. You've learned to go ahead and do these things because the military and yourself have given you this disciplined mind. It's like, how do I accomplish things? Well, I've got to go ahead and come up with a plan. Why do I have to go and come up with a plan? Because plans work. I have to create systems. Well, I have to go and utilize this system. The system utilized is going to go ahead and then create all this advantage. I think of that whole thing, give me a large enough lever, I can go ahead and move the world, right? It's a beautiful way to go ahead and think of life, man. And so with that, it's like, hey, how do you go ahead and use that within all facets? And it sounds like you utilize that in most facets that you have in your own, in your own passions and pursuits.
yeah, man, and like I had to learn how to do it, because I when I got injuries before, like it wasn't it was really like the last two that I had because like they were all like back to back, and I kind of started to going into this negative headspace, so I got angry, right? And I was just that's when I learned like not to be one dimensional and two like how to make time for it. Like, you know what? I've been working really hard to get to this point. That's why I was like angry at myself and sad because I was in the name of progression, right? So I'm gonna keep writing and writing and writing. But you push the envelope, then the envelope pushes back eventually, and it pushed back
Correct.
too many times. And I was so that gave me the clarity and the understanding that I was using mountain biking in the same way that I was using alcohol at one time, right? And like that's what kind of made me angry is because like I was dependent on this one thing.
Correct.
But on top of that, it was I learned to appreciate because if you're constantly in this either fight or flight, right? Like so you get injured, your nervous system is like, on alert and you're not properly healing. But if you learn how to kind of acknowledge what happened, and then it's kind of like a small, like, an example for a lot of different things. Recognize what happened, kind of make space for it. Whether you cry or not, like out of frustration, just kind of release that emotion. Because that's the one, that's the one emotion that's not accepted, right? Sadness or like crying, right? Especially with males. But if you hold on to that emotion, it stores its way in a different way, right? Like in a different part of the body. You can
Correct.
headaches, knee aches, whatever, right? So it's just making these like chapters and to get to the next step, right? All right, this sucks. It hurt. All right, this I'm gonna be out 6 weeks. Okay, you know, like mourn it or whatever you want to do and however whatever you need to do that ritual, and then to the next thing you're just like, all right, now I'm focusing on recovery. But like I just got better at that, because the first time it happened, or maybe the last two times, I was like very like I started to feel myself going back into that space, that negative space, and I was like, oh, like I don't want that no more. Like let's change the narrative, let's change how we do it. So yeah, yeah, did that make sense?
Yeah, man. I
I,
think
I I
the
would like to say that like, oh yeah, it was the military, and I was like, and I don't know because it was like perhaps it was ingrained in me. I just kind of forgot it like for a little bit when I was on the pharmaceuticals and stuff. But
well,
either way,
the other part of it, man, is it teaches you that you can do hard things,
yeah,
right? And I hate to go and say it, is the only way to go ahead and test your steel sometimes is to go and test your steel, right?
yeah,
And you're like, man, then you have to go back and forge it again and test your steel, and it's testing it, and you're like, dude, okay, I am that person, right? I am that, right? It's and you have to go ahead and say that the attributes, man, is that some people never get up from those injuries, Simon. Some
yeah,
people never go ahead and get up from, like, dude, I mean, how many guys have, like, man, I've separated shoulders, I've broken ribs, I've done all these other pieces.
yeah,
I get up, I'm like, oh man, this sucks. I can't breathe. And you're like, okay, what am I gonna do? I'm like, I'm gonna fix my handlebars and I'm gonna go and keep on riding.
right.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, that's what you're gonna go ahead and do, you know. And I think that's been kind of my, you know, what my mindset tells me I'm going to go ahead and do, because I know that the reward is much better. And if I can't get back on the bicycle, then I realize that, man, and I realize like, hey, it's time for me to go ahead and shut it all down. Uh, you know, and I don't know, man. I don't know if I've told you this, dude, but I've only got 9 toes, right? And so that's my like where I always think of like the worst that life could ever be is when I chop my toe off. I was building a trail at Pearsall Park, and I don't know if you've ever been to Pearsall Park, but
Yeah.
there's a line that goes straight up to the top
Yeah.
on the bottom of it. I was the first person to cut that line with my
Whoa.
lawnmower, and I cut 3/4 of it respectfully because I ended up chopping off my toe. I slipped and put my toe under, man. So I think of the hardest time and the worst time I've ever had in my life, right? And that was me trying to figure out if I was ever gonna walk. This was before I got into the military, man.
Yeah.
This is before I got to made to MEPS, did anything else. I tried to hide the fact that I didn't have a toe at MEPS. Kind of another funny story. But yeah, man, I think of like that. And so anytime that I find myself down, anytime that I find myself at a point where I'm like, man, I can't do it, or I can't do this. I think back of being, you know, laying back on my bed and with my foot up and just thinking like, am I ever going to walk again? Right? Am I ever going to do this, dude? I had literally cut off half of my foot. You know, it was an interesting experience, man. That's why I love that's why I love two wheels, you know?
Yeah. So you were riding bikes before you joined the military.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Man,
Yeah, man.
you've been riding for a while.
Yeah, man. I've been riding. Dude, I started riding my buddy Luis. I was telling you, man. It was Christmas Day. I was like 21, 22 years old, and he took me out, and I was riding his little sister's bike, bro. He's like,
Nice.
"You got to try this," and I was like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Dude." And after that, it was all in, man. It was all
Yeah.
in. Just fell in love with bicycles, and then just got to go ahead and be more involved, man. I think it'll be a part of me till forever. I see that bicycling's like a lifetime sport. I see, I got to go and support a guy that was doing the Ride Across America. He was a ranger, and I did that years and years ago. And I was the mechanic for him, and I got to go and see these amazing people. They were like in their 70s, man. They were doing the Ride Across America. Strong riders, huge,
Yeah.
crazy people, and you're just like, whoa. You get to go ahead and look at Jeffco MTV.
Yeah, that
you've
dude's a
ridden, yeah.
shredder, man.
He's a shredder, bro, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay. And so I look at it, man, and it's like, okay, what are the things that I need to go ahead and maintain this to go ahead and continue on, and so I think a lot of my like daily habit of like, I still got to go outside, I still got to hit the gym, I still have to do that, setting up these goals. This year, my goal is to go ahead and do the Margie Jessic. I don't know if you know what the Margie Jessic is.
I
So it's
do not
considered
know what that is.
so the Margie Jessic is considered the hardest mountain bike, hardest 1 day mountain bike race in the United States. It's a 100-mile bike race in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I'm gonna wear the dirt therapy flag. And I tried to do it a couple years back, 7 years ago. And I put myself into kidney failure with
Ooh,
rhabdo.
man.
Yeah, man, I was training too hard, bro. Too much caffeine. Was young and viral man, and I was just giving it too much gas. Trying to
Oh,
do
okay.
two a day rides and working night shift and all kinds of nonsense, man. So I've I'm going being a bit more thoughtful. One of my good friends is an exercise physiologist, so I'm reaching out to him. Uh, Going to recognize how to pace myself. Going to go ahead and do a bit more just dedication to it versus just trying to go ahead and do the Adrian thing, which is what I call the Adrian thing is that I just give it till I don't have any more, and then if I usually hit the goal. I'm just gonna go until I pass out, and I'm like, is that enough? And you're like, yep, that's enough. Like, perfect. That's what I was expecting. In
Yeah.
comparison, it's gonna go ahead and understanding how my heart rate works, understanding that I need to go ahead and set myself up for proper nutrition, understanding that there's gonna go ahead and be points where I'm gonna have deficits, and then knowing how to go and manage the deficits. Right? It's then preparing myself that because the final accomplishment will be the 100-mile race. So that's on my 2026, man. I'm really looking forward to that.
Damn, yeah, that's a good time. Um,
On a stump jumper
I'm
even.
gonna yeah, I'm gonna look it up. Are you gonna do it on your e-bike? What are
No,
you
no,
gonna
no,
do?
man.
Oh,
There's
okay.
no, yeah, e-bikes, man. It's analog only, bro. So
Yeah.
that's the only bike that I've been riding as of late. I sent both of the e-bikes up to hang out with the family, and I've been on analog ever since, man. I uh
Nice.
I feel like the analog has a purpose. And it's fun. It's great, man. I really enjoy it. But there's also like the point where it's like, hey, I also felt like, if I'm on my own, then I'm gonna go and do some grassroots. I'm gonna get back and go ahead and pedal. Like sometimes it sucks and you want to get more laps in, right? Like it comes to that point. Like, do I think that I'm going to utilize it when it comes to like hard training days? Of course, man. Like I'm going to start utilizing it more often where I'm going to keep the e-bike with me. I'm going to keep the analog, and then I'm going to have days like, hey, I've got enough time to be able to go and go get some party laps in, and I'm going to use the e-bike. But if I'm going to go ahead and go out for an 8 hour ride, then I'm going to go ahead and jump on and try and go ahead and, going to hit the analog bike. So it's going to go and be just using it more strategically.
Are you going to do any races this year?
I am, dude. I am. I'm signed. I want to sign up for a couple of the Arkansas Enduro series. I told Nick Castro that I was going to go ahead and participate in the in his race series. Um, the part that sucks is that I'm working so much right now, man.
Mm. Yeah,
When
yeah.
so I that's why I was able to go ahead and I think that's why I told you that I got those four, actually it's six. I bought two more spaces for races. But I'm supporting riders right now.
No,
I'm
that's awesome of you, man. And we appreciate it. Yeah, yeah. That's pretty amazing.
course,
To
man.
donate
I've
those
been real
tickets.
blessed with the career that I have right now, man, that I can go ahead and do that, and for me, um, I look at it like if I was gonna go and cost me, $500 to go and make it down there, enough time to go ahead and do this, enough time to do that. Nick Castro is one of my better friends, man. Nick is someone that I would go ahead and expect that if he'd be at my funeral is the best way I could go ahead and say it, and I'd be at his. He's a fantastic human being. You've met Nick, and so
Yeah,
just a solid human being, and he's putting on a race series, and I think he's really humble about what he wants to get accomplished. I also think that if we can go ahead and get behind him, that there are big things that can go ahead and happen through this, through the uh, creating a Lone Star Enduro series, utilizing the veterans mission. He loves us. He thinks that we're really, he likes the third therapy, he likes what the mission is, and I think that him being at Lake Leatherwood really means a lot to being able to go ahead and get this whole community involved. So yeah, he's invited me out to go ahead and race all of his series, and then I also know that he's going to go and do a series there at Lake Leatherwood, which I love Lake Leatherwood. I could go ahead and
yeah. That's
ride
a fun
if
place to ride.
yeah, if I could wake up tomorrow and ride Lake Leatherwood, I'd ride Lake Leatherwood, and then the next day and the next day and the next day. Like to me, there's Disneyland, which people can love Disneyland, but I love Lake Leatherwood, man.
Yeah,
Like
I do
that
too.
place is, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Got some chunk, got some gnar, got some. I guess it's kind of the same thing. Some
Chunk and
jumps.
Gnar.
Yeah, some drops. Yeah, yeah.
And
Uh,
not as much dirt as you would think, but then there's
yeah,
great berms. It's yeah, man. It's I'm really, it's one of my favorite places to go and find myself. And then there's water, man. It's just it's a great experience. It's one of those like great places to go and be. But yeah, man, my goal is that I want to go ahead and get at least one good race or two races in this year. My buddy John Leon, which you got to go ahead and meet. Did you didn't get to meet John Leon because you didn't go ahead and do the Angel Fire ride with us. Oh, dude. So
yeah.
he
We had
came out with a
Whistler, so
yes.
yeah.
So yeah, he's challenged. He's told me that I got him into got he rode. He was more of XE. I'm every, everybody has to start somewhere, bro. I
Hey,
was
man.
like, and I mess with
Yeah.
him, right?
Did he bring the
Uh,
spandex?
yeah, that's what I told him. Hey, dude, I found you in spandex. Now we put real clothes on you, and now you're a real man. So yeah, but he's he got himself an e-bike. He has gotten himself he's gonna go and get on a full on enduro bike. He keeps on going the route like he wants a downhill bike. I was like, dude, you don't need a downhill bike, bro. He's
Yeah,
like, no, I
not
want a
yet.
downhill bike. I was like, no, man, get yourself a legit enduro bike and go ahead and smash face. I was like, if unless you're doing 60-foot drops and you're doing big stuff, then you really need to go and go the DH bike. I was like, but if you're gonna race, like nobody shows up to enduro races in a triple crown anymore. Get the
Dude,
Zeb, get the
yeah.
38. So I've tried to go ahead and kind of guide him in that sense. But yeah, the goal is to go ahead and for 26 is to go ahead and be at a race, man, and not and in the level of support but to actually get out there and go and smash, man. I really want to go ahead and have that.
Yeah, man, like I was in I haven't raced for a while, but I was planning I wanted to do a couple this year and then that race came up, but I just with everything that's kind of been going on lately, here just trying to get stuff like, you know, coming out of the new year and stuff. I was like, oh, I'll wait till like the spring or summer or what have you. But yeah, man, that opportunity came up, man. You hit me up and I was like, damn. So I reached out to some folks and I'm looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be a good time. I'm not trying to podium or nothing. I mean, I'll do my part, but
Correct.
at the end of the day, I'm just glad. I love riding at RPR too, man. That's a fun place. If anybody listens ever that mountain bikes, check out RPR if you haven't been there. It's a different type of riding. It's more like granite something. I don't know. Do you know that they farm their dirt out there? So I
They
heard
they
they farm it
farm
out
the
to like
dirt.
baseball fields, like Major League Baseball fields.
Yeah, man. And they farm it out to Spider. That red dirt is phenomenal, man. The
Yeah,
dirt
dude.
jumps, everything else. There was all respects to Jeremiah Work, right? I could call it to the godfather of enduro around here. And they had a lot to do with building RPR, a
Okay.
lot to go ahead and creating that space as a killer enduro series, a killer place to go ahead and go out and ride. Um, Long story short, those guys built huge jumps there, man. I mean, you've probably seen the double stacks, and
Yeah.
you've seen like some of the stuff is really rad for South Texas. Who jumps off of a boat? Who does a tabletop off of a fucking off of a dump truck. Some
Yeah.
of the stuff is really awesome out there, man. And so for that to go ahead and be it, as I'm really looking forward to that. And then, also for Nick Castro to go ahead and pick up that banner and say, hey, you want to know what? I think that we want to continue doing these rides here at these places, to continue to go ahead and bring young souls and old souls into the world of riding and racing.
Yeah, I was surprised. Not that like I have to be notified, but like when I saw like the initial like post on Instagram or something, like I didn't know what it was. Like I saw a Texas Gravity Series, but I didn't know who was running it or what. Like until you told me about it and you validated. I thought it was Nick because I saw a picture of him, but I wasn't sure. But yeah, Nick's always been great at the races. Throwing out bananas, kind of when you're at that point where you need the aid station, you're tired and he just got like a good attitude and just kind of like
Always, man.
bullshitting with you. Yeah, it was always a welcome to see. Plus, he's giving you food, so it's always a
Yeah, and
bonus.
that I think that's what he and I had a long talk, man. And I went to go visit him, and I think we both kind of hit a couple things, and he was like, "Man, I really miss the Texas enduro scene." And he's like, "I really, I wonder what's going to happen to it. How is it going to go ahead and go?" And things started happening. Pieces started putting them together. I call it synchronicity, right? It's that
Yeah,
idea that things just kind of piece themselves together in a timeline. You kind of wish them and you believe them. And now he's starting to go and do it. I mean, the cat's from Arkansas, but he's originally from Texas, and he wants to go ahead and see Texas create a great enduro scene. Right, he wants to go ahead and believe that there's enough people and enough good human beings in South Texas that we can go ahead and really strategically build out a fantastic enduro scene, bringing in the people from El Paso, bringing back the guys from Houston. Houston used to go and have a huge contingency of
yeah,
riders, you know, bringing all those cats back in together and start to go ahead and have competitive races again, start to go ahead and see big things happen.
yeah, man. There's some good riders here.
There are.
Yeah, I think it's a misconception that I assume it's a misconception that other people like whenever we go ride somewhere, when we tell them where we're from, they don't expect us to be able to ride the way we do, I guess. And because I've had people tell me like, "Oh man, like you guys ride different." Like not like different, but like I guess in their mind it's like Texas is flat. Like there is no crazy features, there's nothing, but it's so loose here with the limestone and you're riding like on marbles. I feel like it makes you a better rider, right? Because you learn how to ride like in the loose, like hard overpacked, loose terrain. And there's never grip. And then you go to Arkansas and it's like, damn, this is like so much grip. I'm going so fast because I'm not used to all this grip.
Correct. Well, dude, I
Um,
mean, it's you take yourself anywhere. I mean, went up to I was at Killington this last year. And we're out there riding, and I was like, man, I'm riding Killington. And I got to go ahead and ride some stuff, and I was like, damn, I'm holding my own. This feels good.
yeah,
Because it's like you're saying, man, is that you have that experience. But then you go ahead and get to Arkansas on the leaves, and I'm like, what is this? I've never experienced it. And
yeah,
you're like sliding everywhere and understanding how to go ahead and bring on tire pressures, man. I think a lot of it doesn't have to go ahead and do with the it's the point of progression, right? And it's the ability to go ahead and be around great riders, and then guys that can go ahead and help you become better, and then you get out and then they, hey, this is what we're going to go ahead and be going for. Okay, this is what we're going to go ahead and do. And a lot of it is just recognizing, hey, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, building yourself up. And to me, I think that's the other part that Texas needs right now is that we need to go ahead and build that alliance of like, hey, why doesn't Austin have this crazy mountain bike scene? Cat Mountain's still around, bro. It's still real. You know,
Yeah.
there's all these great places to go and go to. Reveille's still there. Spider Mountain, right, needs to go ahead and be a hub that we all utilize. Sansom, all those places, it needs to go ahead and have it, man. If you can go and have these small towns build these places, if you can have a place like Turkey Mountain built, why can't the rest of these locations have it? We have the money, we have the resources. Now it's just being able to go and do it. And then you give us places to be able to go ahead and come to. When you do have destinations, when you have the opportunity to say like, hey, I want to take a trip, but I'm always going to go there with my bicycle. I'm always going to
Yeah.
go out there and hike, right? Because that's what it always becomes. It becomes a third, secondary, and tertiary space. Because it's not just mountain biking, it's hiking. It's not just hiking; it's going to go ahead and turn into an adaptive riding place. People with disabilities can go and make it. That turns into this magical scene eventually.
Right.
It's like you go out to Arkansas and you get to see the way that it's designed. And you're like, whoa, okay, this is incredible. No graffiti on the walls and people just having a bunch of good time. Maybe
Yeah.
they drink too much coffee, but who cares?
Yeah, it's like if you build it, they will come, right?
Correct.
I was in Helotes yesterday. So I went to Flat Rock, rode Flat Rock
Yeah.
yesterday. And then went to Lotus. We got invited to go shoot some guns. Which was fun, but it's on a massive property. It's probably like I think like 900 acres, and they're actually starting to build on there, building mountain bike trails.
Is that right?
Yeah, dude. Like I saw some big step ups, and I was like, "Whoa, man! I wonder who's building it." Like I know of the person, but I don't know them. Like, and I think they're coming from motocross, but they got into mountain biking. They usually go out and goes one or the other, right?
Correct.
Mountain bike.
Correct.
Yeah, so they're starting to build trails out there, and they also have like some zip lines out there. But that was my first time on the property, but it was cool to kind of see. I was like, damn, that's one way to kind of get some profit back for your land, right? Just have open it up, charge a small fee or whatever, and then provide another opportunity for people to ride. And I think if they continue to do that, like you said, and it's really we need to find like I guess the glue, so to speak, of the right leaders in the right circles to start reaching out and connecting like the tribes, if you will, the tribes of mountain biking. I
That's
don't know
right.
what other, yeah, and just kind of get like team chiefs or what have you, and just kind of just like, hey, um, let's get a ride in together, and maybe we could start doing that as well. It's just time, right? And time and connections, man. We do too many things. Like as you alluded to earlier, like I get caught up in a lot of different things that I do, and then like plus family, plus everything else, right? That we do and other nonprofits we work with, and then just trying to hang out with friends and family, like I said, and it's just time gets away from you.
It's
But yeah,
immersive, man. And that's the other part is like you've got to have like hard dedicated cats. I follow Seth Buckner, man, and you'll go ahead and see this guy fucking works 12-hour days, and then is at night cutting down trees at Cat Mountain.
I haven't been
He's
to
got
Cat Mountain. I
oh, dude,
was
you should.
invited. I was invited a while back, but I just hadn't gone.
All you got to do is ask, man. You just got to go ahead and
Yeah,
reach out to Seth. Just send him a bump, and then he'll go ahead and not the bump like a bump,
yeah.
but
No, I
like
got you. I got
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You just got
yeah,
to go ahead and hit him up and be like, hey, bro, can I go ahead and get down? And yeah, man, they'll take you on an experience.
yeah, dude. I hit him up. I need to just. That's one thing I want to work on this year is kind of showing up for more rides. Because when you're out of town a lot, right? It's kind of hard to be the consistent presence. And we have our monthly rides, but I think people. I'm assuming this, but they're like, "Well, I'm not a veteran, so I don't want like I don't know if I can ride with y'all." Even though we say it's open to everyone, so I've been trying to like make myself available more. So we're doing a beginner only ride at Government Canyon, the front country, right? And
Yes,
we're doing the NAR side, but it's going to be like a 5 mile loop and just try to make it about them and just have a good time. Try to have them have a good time. And I got two Polygon Siskiyous that when I already put together, I just gotta put the other one together.
Yeah, man.
That with our official
Another
owners.
buddy bike. That's what it becomes, man.
Yeah.
You know, the other part, dude, is that you look at it as that we. I think sometimes I find myself trying to go and be like, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and take somebody out, and then I try and just go and smash face.
Oh,
Be like,
you
hey, bro,
just
you want to go and jumps and drops? And they're like, no, which one's the rear brake? You know?
yeah,
And so it's about the recognizing the progression that, you have to go and start from the beginning, and it's like, hey, do you enjoy yourself? Like, can you reach down and grab your water bottle and maintain one hand, and then you get that childlike experience that you also go and see it, and then you're realizing that what you are is essentially shoring up the community, right? You're building out the community. You're allowing everybody in the community to go and come to terms, like, hey, dude, I may never be an enduro racer, but I sure as hell am going to go and be someone who enjoys themselves, right?
yeah,
And that's a fantastic feeling, man, because you've got to go and have both levels of the spectrum, right? You're rarely going to go and find someone like Sandy, right? Who's going to go and be like, I'll never race and I'll never make it down double blacks. Cause I remember that chick, bro.
yeah.
I remember, like,
She
you
didn't
look
want
at
to go
that.
over like a little lip or like the
Dude,
sidewalk.
yes, dude, and then I got to go and see her go down a double black at Lake Leatherwood, and I was like, I'm afraid to go down that. And then you will see, and you're like, wow, dude. So it's, very rarely that you'll go ahead and see someone that has that, right? And so when you get to see that happen, and you get to go and see the way that you're going to go ahead and key the people up to say, hey, this is your opportunity. This is going to go and be a place. And you have someone that's going to go ahead and be understanding, where they're never going to go and feel that prejudice of like, you can't do this, or you're not healthy enough, or you're not this, you're not that. You just go and say, hey, you're here, right? Yeah, okay, let's go out and enjoy ourselves. And then you're gonna go and see there's gonna go and be other key members that'll go and take it out. I loved, Gino's in and out of the scene, man, but Gino was a great guy in San Antonio that would go in and
yeah,
have that, right? You'd see a bunch of cats that would go and take on, they would wear that banner for a lot of people, and they come and go, right? They come and
yeah,
go. Did like Jesse Salas, right? Jesse Salas puts on great e-bike rides, right? There's few and far between. Like I pray that whenever a bike park gets in San Antonio, or whenever they put a trail together, that something, dude, that is named after that cat, man. Like that's on
yeah.
one of my hopes and dreams, dude. Is there's gonna go and be a one day a Jesse Salas like pump track, or a Jesse this dude, because I believe he's one of the like pillars of mountain biking in San Antonio, man.
He is key to me being like tapped into the community, and
Yes.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people can say that. And he's like, I don't know, man. Like he's like the spirit of mountain biking. Like if I was if I'm blessed enough to get to that age, I hope I am celebrating life the way he is. At least on the trails, man. Like he's hooting and
Dude,
hollering. He's like 76 years old.
dude, a time of his life,
On
man.
top of that, dude, like dude's an animal. Like stage 4 pancreatic cancer, dude.
Wrote his
Dude,
own story, bro. Wrote his own story.
yeah, dude.
That's it.
And that I have nothing but respect for that cat. Veteran too.
Yes.
And yeah, and to go
Dedicated
through
father,
that,
man.
yeah,
He's a one of a kind, man, and that's why that's been one of my, we would bring him out to 700 acres all the time, dude. He was actually at 700 acres first ride. And we built a trail, and I named it after him. It's called the Godfather Trail. It had huge features on it. There was a lot that we did there, man. And so I think that it's having guys like that put on rides on a weekly basis. It's having those
yeah,
guys, and then people realizing like, hey, I can go ahead and ride with those cats. Like, yeah, I can. That's where you go and keep the community based. Keep the community strong, and that's it. And then you get to go and then say, hey, well, there's someone like that. There's probably a reflective community that's happening in Houston, and something that's happening in Lotus, something that's happening in Austin, something that's happening in Dallas, El
yeah,
Paso. All that starts to go and become it, man. And so to me, it's also how I found myself. Some people do fast cars, some people go ahead and do other stuff. It's just right now my season is riding bikes, and then it's also, I work a whole lot, so it is what it is.
yeah, yeah, man. So I guess not. I guess, but if we can tap into those leaders in those communities and start to bring like a no shit like taking care of each other kind of
Right?
mentality as opposed to like tear each other down because that exists as well.
It does, man.
And in every community, really.
It's rough, man. It was rough when we were trail building. There was a lot of fever and a lot of heat that we would go ahead and get on occasion from people. Um, then we just I think there was another part that we all just like realized like it was we didn't have to go and hear it. People just didn't want to. They weren't ready to go and accept the fact that you could go and jump a creek. They didn't want to accept the fact that there was going to go and be skinnies. They didn't want to go ahead and do 12-foot drops. They didn't want to go and have that. And you realize like, hey, some people weren't just prepared for that, you know,
Yeah.
because it was foreign. It was, oh man, that can't, hey, dude, it's new. Yeah, you're gonna go and experience this, right? And then they would come out and they'd realize, like, oh, well, I don't have to do that and you're not gonna go and ridicule me if I don't. Be like, no, I just want to go and show you this cool spot.
Right.
And then they would go and have this experience, and you'd be like, "Hey, dude, just try the first couple of ramps." Oh, cool, I can make it. Yes, man, you can go ahead and try these things.
Yeah.
I went back and saw what we had built, and I was like, dude, I brought it up to the guys. I was like, what were we doing? How did we get away with this? Like I really think about it. Like, I mean, this was supposedly park land, and we were jumping cars, we were doing crazy things, man. It was rad to be able to have these experiences.
Yeah.
I look forward to maybe in the next chapter, in my 50s or at another time when I get to go ahead and join another trail building crew, when I get out to go ahead and stamp some dirt, when I go ahead and have a mini X on my own property and I get to go ahead and involve myself in this type of thing, because it really, I enjoy it, man. It really became something that I think that was probably the second most happiest thing that I get to go ahead and do other than mountain biking, you know when it came into the woods, right? Like I love being a dad, and I love some certain other things I've been real passionate about. But being able to go and have that other experience, because then you get to go and be like, dude, what do you guys think we should do here? Be like, oh, dude, a big rock, let's jump it. Hey, there's this, let's go ahead and
Yeah.
make that. It became, and then you find yourself like pulling out, railroad ties, and you're like, how did you? Well, Adrian, where'd you find railroad ties? You're like, I found railroad ties. Don't ask questions. You know
Yeah.
that that's been another experience. How does that all come together? And then you realize like we had to realize that we were a little too impatient when we needed to go and get city backing, where you had to go and have people from the city agree to it. Like, hey, do we want to do these things? Right. And then when the city does agree, then you have to have these people show up on a Saturday morning, on a Friday morning, and be like, hey, guys, everybody bring your shovel. Somebody bring a cup of water. Somebody bring this. Somebody bring that. And then you show the dedication in the craft. And I think that's another thing to go ahead and put into play, because if we look at the way that San Antonio's progressed, 20 years ago there was no Salado Creek, right? There was a place where people dumped their trash on the east side, right? There was no there was no OP. Their OP stable was kind of there, but it was kind of not there. It was Devil's Den. It wasn't this. San Antonio's progressed a whole lot, man. All of that area has, right? And so you look at all the green spaces that have been built, all the parks that are new, all this fantastic thing. So it is happening. It's just maybe like a year or two behind. Right.
Yeah.
And so for us, we have to go, for you guys that are living there now, right? You have to be patient. You have to go and see as it happens, right? But now for anybody to go and say that there's literally a gigantic loop that anybody can go ahead and ride on, that takes you almost all across San Antonio by bike path or by footpath, or however you want to go ahead and get around. It's a fantastic experience.
Did you see the? Did you go to OP at all when you were here
I
last
did.
time?
I
Did
did. I
you
saw the new.
see the pump track or
I might
the
have ridden
jumps
it.
over at the golf course?
I might have ridden it.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you
Can't
ride it
confirm
yet?
nor deny.
I might have,
No,
man.
no.
Yeah.
Last time we went, we would just want to go look at it because I looked at through the fence, and then there was a sign up that says like being watched like with cameras or something.
Yes,
I had
sir.
a TDTB shirt on, so I was like, I don't want
So
like
did
to
I.
bring the program into heat, like
So did I, man.
so they're,
I
they're
did.
having a they're having a problem right now with Surons. I think that's a hot topic in a lot of trail systems, but like there specifically, somebody was kind of like already ripping them up the lips.
Yeah, man. I hate to say because I'm an e-bike rider, right?
But a
But
Suron and an e-bike are two different
two
things.
different animals, man.
Yeah,
And the way that those trails are built, they're not made for it, bro. And that's the thing, is that where then do you have a space where surrounds can be ran? You know,
yeah. That's I mean, motor track, but I
that's
don't
right.
that's at.
So you're gonna have to go ahead and build out a motor tracker. They're gonna have to go and ride it OP Schnabel proper with a headlamp. There's
Yeah,
other things that are gonna have to go ahead and get done.
they're gonna
Um,
have their own movement, right? It's kind of like
that's right.
skaters, right? When skaters
That's right.
couldn't go to the mall or whatever, they had to build a skate park, but there was a lot of they had to get together to get that done.
You've got to combine the forces, man. You've got to go and create momentum. right? I think that's
Yeah.
what a lot of it is creating momentum. And then once you have that momentum, then you can go and justify to people versus being like, hey, there's 750 of us that want this to happen. In comparison, when you have 12 guys and you're like, hey, dude, every one of you is a criminal. Like, oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry. We shouldn't be asking for this, right?
Yeah. And that was the thing. Like, I understand, like, from the standpoint of, like, hey, man, we built this and it was destroyed. But it's, like, the other argument is, like, well, technically it wasn't approved. So, like, I used to, like, rogue trail build, but once it got knocked down a couple of times, I was just like, I'm not going to put forth the effort to do it if it's just going to get knocked down. Nor did I have the time to actually go through the right process to get whatever trails done. But on one end, it's like, yes, you built whatever, but at the same time, you can't get upset when it gets knocked down because it's not technically your land. It's
You know,
technically the land of whoever else.
I'll go back to the one of the first people that I got into was Edward Gutierrez. He's one of the OGs that used to go and
Yeah.
go out. And what his belief was that if you built the features big enough and well enough, then they wouldn't get knocked down. So we would go out, and I'm like, dude, talking with John Rodriguez, a couple of guys are like, how big we're gonna build this, and we're like, I think we're gonna real big, and they're like, yeah, real big. And so it's like the hardest thing was building these huge features, right? To go ahead and realize, and the city's like, oh, but you guys actually took the time and crafted it and added concrete and did some things, and it was shored up appropriately. And and that's the other part, man, is that when people see like, oh, you're dedicated, how you built it, right?
Right.
Um,
That's fair.
it's hard, man.
So if you build it right with and you take in account like safety and all these things as
That's
opposed
right,
to
man.
just building like this rank like janky freaking
Well, yes,
like
yes and
bridges
no.
kind of shaking
Yes.
apart.
Yes, because that's where we started, and then by the end, we had we were building, and there was times when it was like, hey, okay, we're bringing out a rotor tiller, and we're gonna go ahead and cut our berms, and we were bringing out brand new wood, and there was a lot of times when it started to go ahead and actually come together, man, and I think that was what a lot of it we had to learn on. Right, like in my next lifetime, I'll probably be a trail builder if I could go ahead and have my choice. Like I'd be out there trying to go ahead and do that, realizing like this is where, I'm taking a piece of land and, turn it into that, to what people want, right? It's a playground because there's so many pieces that are unused land or people throw shit, I hate to go and see when look at an area and it's covered in trash and you're like, well, that means the people are out here. They just don't know how to respect it, right?
Right.
They don't know
And
how
how
to
can
go
you
ahead and treat
respect
it
it if
right.
you're never in it?
Right.
So it's like if you ride in it, like you see and because you're using it and you learn to respect nature and appreciate it. That's what happened to me, man. Like that's how I got where I got. Like just and I'm sure I've told you this before, and anybody who's heard this podcast probably heard it before. Like fuck it, man, here we go again. But like it just I got out in nature, man. I started riding bikes, and then I would be on my own, and I would kind of just like look at the trees, and I was like, oh man, I never really noticed that. And like you kind of look at your hand, and this is sober, right?
Yes.
And you look in your hand and like kind of like, man, it's like there's a lot of similarities and parallels with it. Like if you ride in the winter and you kind of see the branches, it looks like the lungs just upside down, coming out of the ground. Either way, but
And then
it's
for no reason, an armadillo shows up and
yep.
you're like, dude,
Do
you're just like,
do you know they hiss at you? Do you know that?
yeah,
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 I
man.
didn't know that. I mean, I've seen a bunch of them, but they usually like run away. But one time I was out and it was like one charging me. It was like, I was like, oh,
What I'm
yeah,
saying, dude, like I think for me, it's like that's where I find myself like the other than spending the time with my kids, but I take the kids out into the woods to go ahead and do that, man, all the time. I
yeah,
want them to go ahead and come back to it. I want them to go ahead and there's a thing about smelling dirt under your nails, man. There's a
yeah,
part of it that just gets takes you to me. It takes me to a place where I feel like I'm centered again.
yeah,
We live in such concrete. And it's all a farce. It's all been made up. All it is the same materials that like are out in the world, but we grind it up and we go ahead and create these things that are buildings, and we
yeah,
sleep on beds and we do everything else. But all of it is the true, its essence, right? Is the woods. It's the essence is what we're trying to go ahead and get to. And so for me, like when you can get closer to that, that's where I find myself. That's where I'm
yeah,
really, really compelled to be like, I'm I'm Adrian. This is who I want to go ahead and be. And I want to go ahead and find more of that. And I think that's like been my biggest challenge in these last couple of years is that I've had to go ahead and create this like hard division that I want to go and be this real successful safety person and real successful project manager. But then I also want to go and be someone who's out living in the woods, right? And
Yeah.
so it's learning to go ahead and pivot and adapt and be like, okay, this is my week to go ahead and do this, and this is my 6 months to do this, right? And I've got to go ahead and look for that. And I think this last year I had less balance than I really wanted to, but I had really a really successful like financial year. So I'm like, okay, how do I repay that? So my repayment had been, when I go out to rides or I like, hey, I'm going to support the dirt therapy project by, we're going to go and I'm going to buy shuttle tickets or I'm going to do this or do that. And so it's kind of been the way that I've tried to go and offset the idea, and like this next year for 2026, I've told myself I'm going to start off strong, but I'm going to go ahead and find myself still trying to go ahead and be more available for rides, taking more people out, trying to go ahead and get, where I'm like, hey, if I've got a Sunday, my Sunday is going to go ahead and be spent in the woods. This is how I'm going to go ahead and manage myself. And I work outside anyways because I work on wind turbines, so it's kind of like, but I don't get the opportunity to go ahead and ride around.
Right. Try to send it off one of those wind turbines.
Oh, dude,
Um,
such a good
yeah,
time.
that's nuts, dude. I used to, well, I told you I used to climb, but
Yes.
um, going back to it, like so, like one of the latest themes I kind of focused on was like resilience and uh, obviously suicide prevention, mental health, and stuff like that. And I appreciate you sharing a lot of the stuff, and it's amazing like how many like stories are similar, like kind of where they've used their experiences to get them where they're at today. And one thing I picked up on earlier, and you don't have to like it's kind of rhetorical, but you had talked about damn, I would forget it. So let's just go back to what would be like three things that you would recommend or suggest for somebody kind of going through it now that you're like still working and aware, self-aware of your own stuff.
Yeah, man. So the first one's going to go and be real blunt. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is that if anybody has the intent to go and hurt themselves, is that do themselves the favor, take a look behind you and make sure that before you go ahead and pull that trigger, that nobody's behind you. Right. And that's a scary thought to go and do it because it's a real hard way of looking at it is that there always will be someone there behind you. Your ripple effect of if you decide to go ahead and hurt yourself, you decide to go ahead and end it, there's always going to be someone behind you. There's always going to go and be something that's going to happen, some sort of frag, some sort of something that's going to go ahead and have it. You're never going to go and be alone. And the trauma that you impact upon someone is going to go and be way more on that ripple effect. It's not just that initial like blow. It's going to go and continue to press and press and press. Um, and to me, that's a real blunt a way to put it, but it should be looked at that way, right? Because for some people, they only see that that's the end. And when you look at it like, man, I am going to hurt people on the way out. Like it's never just going to go and be a silent way out. To me, that's it. Because I've put many people in body bags, man. I've really seen, when you get to go and see that, and you get to go and see the way that it affects you, other people. You get to go and see as it affects the family members as you walk out of walk out of the trauma room or you come out of the ambulance and you get to go and look at the family members and they're just like and you don't have that positive story to go and tell them. The second part, man, is it's a bit more hopeful, right? And I think this is the one, man, is that suffering is something that we've as veterans like we like to go ahead and like talk about it. We like to go ahead and say like, man, you remember that one time in the barracks there were fucking cockroaches and there was this and there was that. You remember how much it sucked? And we talk about this struggle, we talk about the pain, and we start to go ahead and have that. Um, but oftentimes we also talk about how hard certain things were, but we realize like we then put ourselves or we become like we're fascinated with struggle, fascinated with the idea of how much more hurt can we go ahead and the whole David Goggins thing of like how much harder can it go and be upon myself? What more struggle can I go and do it? Can I do 1,000 pull-ups? Can I do this? Can I go ahead and do that? But a lot of times it's because it's reflective upon, and the way I see it is reflected upon is that we want so much struggle because we want to be in control of the struggle. Not that the struggle is like just upon us. So the idea is that stop putting so much imposed struggle upon ourselves, right? Stop imposing, putting that fever upon you of, I just need to go ahead and feel like the world's hard. Like I need to go ahead and have this expectation that the world is constantly like pushing me, like, hey, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing that. Like it back off a bit, man. And I mean that, like, for a bunch of us, like, life has been hard, and it's not only that, life will continue to go and be hard, but to go out and search for it, to go out and search for, like, man, I need to put myself in the struggle, I need to go ahead and have that. And the last one, man, is is we say for number three, man, is uh if you get the chance to go ahead and experience some psychedelic trip, right, opportunities, right, and it's with the right mindset, it's right with the right goal, it's with the right opportunity, is take it. Utilize that time to go ahead and reset. Utilize that time to come back to center and realize what your purpose is. Realize who you want to go ahead and be, and utilize that psychedelic thing. And I think that we were given these derivatives. We were given, you know, some of these psychotropic medicines. And they're truly medicines, man, is that we were given them as a blessing, and we were given them as a blessing from this earth to be able to go ahead and utilize for ourselves. And under the correct circumstances, the correct dosing, and with the right mindset, is that a lot of us can go ahead and remove ourselves from that point of of pain, remove ourselves from that point of just continued trauma, where we can go ahead and then look at the world from a different lens, right? Where we get to go ahead and look at it with the less obscurity, right? Where we get to go ahead and look at the world as it's like it's no longer obtuse. We're like, whoa, wow, I can see. I get to go ahead and recognize that I don't have to go ahead and live in a world where I'm constantly, induced, that I have to go and have this negative behavior. Why have I been doing this for the last 20 years, right? Right? Why is it that when I always walk into a place, I put my right hand in my pocket, right? It's always because I'm trying to go ahead and ensure that I've got my knife right there, that we have that, and then you have that ability to go ahead and reset. And I know that it may, for some people, they go ahead and say, hey, it may not be for me, but if given the chance, that we should go ahead and take that. I think every human being should go ahead and have that experience at least once or twice, either be it through meditation or however it is. But for me, I think that you should go ahead and try and reach that through the world of psychedelics, man. I think psychedelics have a real possibility of making a human change, giving you a chance to go ahead and switch your mind to a different field, right? To go ahead and realize, like, hey, dude, there's more than just this base that I've been living out of. And those are the three things that I have that are related to resiliency and suicide prevention, man.
Yeah, then those are good points. And yeah, those are really good ones. There always is a negative effect from suicide, regardless. And sadly, that's not something I considered when I was in my place. I look at it different now. I've been put in positions where I was just outside of the immediate circle of the affected party, and just enough outside where it affected me, but not to that level. So I was able to kind of see it from a 360 view, so to speak. Uh, and that gave me a different understanding of what my attempt, and if I would have succeeded, would have put me at. Uh, Psychedelics is definitely a great tool for the right people, as like you alluded to earlier, that are not on pharmaceuticals. And also, like, I'll add to it is it's not a one fix all. Like, you still have to take the lessons learned from that and apply them consistently.
Correct.
Because and it's great to have some type of guidance and self awareness prior to going into it. Um, and the self awareness is huge because if you're like a narcissistic, you're not gonna see like, you know what I mean. You might see something else, but it's definitely for the right people, setting and stuff like that. But yeah, it's like they say, when it calls for you, or like when it makes itself available to you. But yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing what you shared. Um, and it's it's pretty cool to like learn some of these things about you. I know you, but I didn't know you like to the level that I know you today, or like right now after this during this call. And one of the things I was gonna connect earlier was, um, it's interesting how you find yourself in safety, right? It's like I was having this conversation with somebody. Look, I'll say it myself first. So I was having a conversation with somebody, and they're asking me what I wanted to do, like be when I grew up, right? Like, what was I fascinated in? I was like, the only thing I could think of that I was really, really fascinated in was storm chasing, right? And I was just like, I want to be a storm chaser, right? Uh, and then they were like, well, what do you do now? And I guess I'm still chasing storms in different ways, right? With
Correct.
people, right? Kind of this conversation. So one of the things I kind of connected with you, and I mean, you can take it or not, is like trying to be that safety, right, for everyone. Like watching out for people, making sure that, like they see the threat, or the
Yeah.
potential threat, the
Man, so
ORM.
I'll uh I'll give the background to it, man. So um I made a deal with God, and this is my story with it is I was at the point of like I was certain that I was either going to go ahead and quit medicine or kill myself. Was it. Like I had two choices, right? And I was like, dude, this is it. Like I was looking for it. My little sister says that Adrian, I don't think that you were trying to hurt yourself. I just think that you were trying to go ahead and live so fast and do so much that you didn't care if there was an end result that you were going to get hurt and like hurt yourself mortally, right? So I stopped in the middle of a wind field in Amarillo, Texas, many years ago, man, and I got on my knees and I prayed. And this is not for for anything other than to go and give context to the story. And I don't know why I stopped in the middle of a wind field, but I was going to school to be a physician's assistant. I had chemistries, I had the math, I had everything else. I was working in the trauma units. I was working for the state of Texas, working for the emergency management teams. I've seen horrible. I was there for the Uvalde shooting. I was there for multiple mass casualties. I've pulled a lot of bodies out of bad places, done some things that that have changed my life. But I got on my knees and I was like, God, you want to know what, man? Like, I'll do anything that you ask me for as long as I don't have to go and do this ever again. And there was something about that silence on a wind farm. And if you ever stopped in a wind farm, man, there's something about it. There's just this whoosh that happens, and the wind's just blowing, and it was just complete silence. There's no cars, there's nothing else. It's Amarillo, bro. There's nothing. It was just wind turbines,
Yeah,
and they're just going, man. And I just sat there in prayer and just meditated and meditated. And I got up and I drove then for multiple. I stopped in multiple places to ride my bicycle. I went in Colorado. I went to the Springs. Stopped in rode in Galbraith. Came down and rode in Utah. Went all over the United States at that point and rode bikes. Came back and was like, know what? I'm gonna go ahead and get into this role. And I went to go ahead and work on wind turbines. And then they were like, "Hey, dude, what else do you do?" And I was like, "They're like, you're a little older. You're not like what we would normally go ahead and get somebody hired on." And I said, "Hey, man, like, well, I have all this safety experience." And that's exactly it. That's what everyone was like, "Dude, you know how to take care of people." And that's it. I realized that because I'm able to go ahead and read the room. Another thing is that I'm willing to go and ask questions. What is it people need, right? What can I do to go ahead and help you out? How can I go ahead and do these things? Additionally, like I said, man, growing up in chaos, then I found myself like, hey, dude, it's chaotic. People are screaming, people are yelling. Some people, that's their point of panic. For me, it's new. Like that's like putting a fish in water, man. I'm just
yeah,
like I'm backstroking at that point. I'm having a great old time. People can be, the world could be on fire, and I'm like, oh, check it out, matches. It's
yeah,
you know, and to me that was where I found that I could go ahead and thrive. But then I had to go ahead and turn that alternatively into like another world, and so I searched for another avenue, and I've been blessed into this avenue of going into safety, because I want to ensure that people don't have to go ahead and have this horrible feeling of pain. The biggest thing is that when we don't just hurt ourselves, we hurt others. And
yeah,
I want to ensure that people don't have those experiences when they work out in the field. And, when I talk to my teams, when I go ahead and have these conversations, this is one of the biggest things that I go ahead and share with them is that I share with them, hey man, you want to know what? Make sure that when you go ahead and hurt yourself, you do it on your own. Make sure that you're not going to have to go and be rescued by somebody. Ensure that you can go ahead and make it out of these things. So when you decide to go ahead and not clip off, which you've done these things, right? 250 feet in the air and you decide not to go ahead and tie off, just make sure that you're the only person that's there so that when they come get your body, you're at the bottom. In comparison, it's being like, hey, dude, your buddy's gonna have to go and try and rescue you, or he's gonna have to go and have this horrible experience of having to go ahead and pick up your now broken body. And so I've been very blessed to go ahead and have this, man, because I think that what I did is I made the right prayer. I said the right thing, which was like, I'll do anything, right? Give me the opportunity to be successful, but I just won't be successful here. Right. And I had to talk to a bunch of my mentors. I had to go ahead and speak to a bunch of people that had supported me. My wife had to go and speak to, my parents had to go and speak to everybody, all my mentors, man, like great human beings, physicians, assistants, doctors, and told them, hey, man, I'm really at this pivotal point where I think this is what I'm going to do instead. And they all thought I was crazy, right? They were like, "Dude, you're what?" And they're like, "You're so good at what you do. You're really positive. You've done all these things. Look at the amount of momentum that you've created." And then, you know what, man, from a mental health standpoint, I just couldn't continue doing the the hard work of watching people hurt. I couldn't go and continue doing the consistent basis of watching another person at their worst. It just was no longer something that I could go ahead and handle. And like, respect and blessings to the people that can. But for me at that point, I wanted to go ahead and be part of it. I still wanted to be able to go ahead and use this as a skill set. But what I didn't want to go ahead and do was find that this is how I was going to go ahead and be constantly immersed into it, because I felt that I was just taking on so much trauma, having so many losses, man, that I just wasn't going to go ahead and be myself, you know? And I didn't have a positive community to go ahead and be able to express that to. So then I was turning to, turning to drugs, turning to alcohol, but most of it was just self-destructive behavior, right? And I
Yeah.
learned that self-destruction was probably the worst thing that I could have done, because I was destroying relationships. I wasn't able to go ahead and meet people's timelines. It was impossible for me to go ahead and be the person I believed I was, just because and then when I would become Superman, I was Superman. But when I took the cape off, I became the shadow. I became the person I wasn't. I
Yeah.
didn't want to go ahead and I didn't have pride in, and now I'm prideful of who I am. I get to go ahead and say like, hey, I am someone that I can go ahead and represent. I do look at myself from that. But the Superman, I'm not Superman anymore, man. I'm my own kind of Superman, but I'm not the guy that's going out and being like, dum da da dum, let me go save a life. If that's called
Right.
upon, I still can go ahead and utilize that skill set, but it's not on a daily basis. It's not my habit. It's not that adrenaline fueled relationship that I had with with death.
Dude, that's huge for you to recognize because there are a lot of folks, right, that in the whether first responders, firefighters, or I guess it's first responders, that push through that or don't have a choice, or they feel like they don't have a choice to change their career, right? And they stay in it and they become jaded, right? Because
The
and they
worst,
just
man.
become cold, right? Or they become that person that's just an asshole or whatever, like all the time. Because it's one thing to be able to have the mask on, right, at work and do all the things, and then you take off the mask when you get home, and then it's just like everyone catches hell. I was there, dude. That's why I reckon like yeah, it's not fun to talk about, but that's a place where I was. That's a place where I'm not anymore. Do I still have backslide and have those moments where I kind of just I don't want to say snap. That's not the right word, but that part kind of comes out a little bit, and then I check myself. I kind of do a little soul searching, and then it's those times are coming more and more far and few between of those little kind of things or whatever. But that's part of the work, right?
And
And then on
healing
top, of,
healing is a science, man.
yeah,
That's
it
exactly
is.
what I can go and tell you, man. Heal is in science. And if you look at it from a standpoint, is that sometimes you can go ahead and have the hypothesis and you think what's going to go ahead and work. And you're like, oh, I need to tweak it a little bit. And then you keep on going and you tweak it a little bit more. And it's a science, man. You really has to go ahead and be that. We have to look at it from that standpoint, is that healing and helping ourselves and helping others is a science. We can't just always think that we've got the answer. And it's going to always be this adaptation, you know?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head earlier too. Well, kind of one of the things that's been coming forward in a lot of the podcasts that I didn't even expect it, even though I wasn't. I guess to some extent you want to factor in energy and kind of like I guess I've always been in the search for God, the idea of like the bigger thing. But anyways, like fast forward like to your experience, like even in like 12-step program, like step two is like believing in something greater than yourself.
Find a higher
So
power.
for you to kind of recognize it and kind of put your problems on God, right, and ask for it, because that's the point that I think we need to get to, right? To understand that we can't do it on ourselves. You can't be Superman all the time.
No, man. And I've seen so much hurt and so much good in the world, that, dude, there's no way I couldn't not believe. There's no way that I
Yeah,
can't go ahead and like, and I've got to also believe that there's horrible and bad things in the world just the same. There's still a
yeah,
boogeyman. And that
yeah.
to me, there's a reliance that we have to go ahead and have, like, and I did, man. I had to go ahead and admit, like, I couldn't do these things and I wasn't able to, and it wasn't. It was bigger than me. And the pain that I was experiencing and what was going on inside of my head and all the things that were related, man, were just, I could not master my craft of learning how to go ahead and be a person who had great coping skills, a person who knew how to be decent to others. It took a lot for me to go ahead and become humble. It took a lot for me to go ahead and realize that. And it still is, man. It's not like I don't spend time listening to talks. It's not like I don't find myself spending the time meditating. It's not like I don't find myself trying to go ahead and help others, man. It's a science. It's literally my craft now is trying to go ahead and be a better human being.
Yeah, man. I think we're both aligned in that effort, man. And it's daily work. It's constantly changing, constantly being humbled. Uh, People calling you on your shit, you allowing people to call you on your shit. You know what I mean? Especially people you care about, as opposed to kind of deflecting and then just trying to win an argument. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff I used to do that I call myself on now, and I try to be mindful of.
Correct.
But yeah, it sucks, dude. It sucks. Like I got told some truth the other day, man, and I kind of reacted in anger, and then I quickly learned that that's fucking true, and it sucks. And I'm sorry for reacting in anger, but like you're right. Like
So is the anger, let me put this, man, is it the anger or was it the fear that the fear that what the person was telling was true?
I think it's both, man. I think anger is just natural reaction, right?
Correct. To me,
Like
I
it's
think that it's anger is usually the reaction of fear, and then we mask it, right? So fear is the stem, and then we decide not to be sad, or we decide not to go ahead and admit it, and then we use this mask of anger, right?
yeah,
And we go ahead and cover it on up. And so the fear is oftentimes that it is true what the person
yeah,
decides to go ahead and
yeah,
tell us. Or the fear is that it could go ahead and be happening, right? And so then we get angry, we don't know how to go ahead and cope with it, right? And to me, I had to go ahead and also understand that coping is a skill set. And you have to go ahead and use the skill set, man. You've got to go ahead and know how to react within situations that confrontations will arise, that you will go ahead and find yourself in realities and places where you're going to go ahead and make assumptions and you're going to go ahead and be obtuse. You're going to be wrong, right? And then how do you go ahead and answer for those things, right? And like, oh, okay. And I've also learned that if I do it with if I do it, and one of my last, one of my last bosses, he would always tell me, Adrian, do your work in the light, man. He's like, if you do your work in the light, then it's easy for everybody to go and see what you're doing. And I utilize that often now, man. Is that everything that I do, I try in my works and my manners with men, with every one of my dealings, I try and go ahead and do with a right mindset and that I'm doing where it's evident of what I was actually trying to get accomplished. That there was no secondary motive. There wasn't like, hey, I'm trying to go ahead and show this. No, no, hey man, this is the fucking truth. This is what was happening. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. And it was like it was more of a guidance from him. It was more of a guidance like, Adrian, I see that you're already doing this, but be more evident with your actions. Be more vocal that this is what my intentions are. Hey, this is what I'm trying to go ahead and to express to you. This is what I want to go ahead and share. And once I came to go ahead and understand that, as I found that I was starting to go ahead and be able to design my reality at a much faster pace, that I was able to go ahead and look at the things that I wanted, the things that I was creating, and I was able to go ahead and then be a better designer of it.
yeah. And especially like you kind of eliminate confusion or
That's right.
misunderstandings.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, that's gold, man, for a lot of people that are willing to be reflective and make those adjustments, because the opposite is also true, right? The identity that we hold on to, right? Well, I'm just this way, that's the way I am, that's a lazy way to kind of move about the world. It's convenient, right?
Well, I listened to this talk a couple days ago, man, and they said the worst thing you could ever be in the world is lukewarm,
Mm,
right? Worst thing you can ever go and be is agua tibia, right? It's tibia water, right? It's the ideas that you can either be hot water or be cold water. But don't go ahead and be this lukewarm. Don't be average. Don't be just water running. Don't be that person. And I took that like, wow, dude, that's heavy to go ahead and hear. And the reason why the guy shared this, he said, because you're going to go ahead and remember the best and the worst, but you're never going to go ahead and remember the average times.
hmm.
So it's very rare that you're going to go and do that. He said, so always shoot for the two paradigms of it. I was like, man, it was a physician that was sharing this, and I was like, okay, I was kind of compelled because the way that he explained it, right? He's like, you're never gonna remember the guy that was average in class. You're never gonna go and remember the guy that got an 81 on the test. You're never gonna go and remember the guy that was in the middle of the running pack. He said that guy just kind of goes away. He said because he could have been in the front or he could have been in the back. So, but you want to, his
Yeah.
choice was to go ahead and be lukewarm, to be average.
I was
And I
pretty
took,
lukewarm in fucking school.
well, what,
Well, I'm not like grade wise, but
yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for us, I think for a lot of us in school, man, it's I blame the school systems in themselves, not us. I blame
Mm,
the school systems for the way that it was. You know, I blame the fact that that they didn't recognize how to go ahead and motivate people. They didn't recognize that there was a structured system that they could have put us into. Right, there was a much better way
yeah.
of managing it. You know,
It's
it's
unnatural to
sad.
sit in a classroom with fluorescent lights and just told to be sit there and stay there. And then, yeah,
You know,
I hated school. Like I
well,
hated going to school.
yeah, if they would have,
I love
you know,
learning. Sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
If they would have at 08 in the morning walked us all out and let us all eat sun for an hour,
Yeah.
that would have been impressive, man. If they would
Or
have been like, hey, we're gonna go through nutrition class and we're gonna teach you guys how to grow a garden and how to go and do these
yeah.
things, true life lessons, right?
Yep.
But here we are being, and it might, I hate to go on this tangent, man. But then it didn't teach, it didn't teach us the true, didn't take economics because we weren't taught not to go ahead and spend our money like fools. It wasn't taught that these are the things, and I felt like this was the misconception or the way that we were, our generation was like, hey, can you read? Can you write? Can you do these basic principles, right? It wasn't like, can you go ahead and be a decent human being? Do you know the basic principles of how to go ahead and manage yourself as a human being? Can you have a social interaction, right? It wasn't any of that.
Right. How to work in a community. Um,
Correct.
it was very individualistic, it seems like. Um, yeah. It's like the siloing off of the society, right? I mean, even more so now that's been amplified in the way of like phones, right? Like everyone's siloed off in their algorithm and they can't communicate. I don't want to say everyone, but especially the younger generation, they kind of came up with it. I do feel like the pendulum is swinging the other way. Um, but anyways, that's a whole different podcast we can go on and on.
That's heavy
Yeah,
duty.
yeah. But dude, I appreciate the hell out of you, man. Thank you for coming on and like
Of course, Simon.
sharing what you shared. I think it's going to be of great value to folks that are listening, folks that are willing to do the work and at least self reflect. As always, I mean, each person has to do the work on their own and make the changes. And one key point is when you start to change, you're going to upset a lot of people. Like they're not going to be used to it. Like, wow, you always used to do this. Why you're different? It's all right. It's just people don't like change, and that's why people don't welcome it, and people refuse to because it sucks, and you have to change things, and it hurts, and growing pains, etc. But thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Hopefully, we get to ride in the near future. Keep me posted on how you're doing with that. What was that? Right? Race again?
It's called the Margie Gasick. So it's Margesick, and it's
Okay.
there in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, man. So it's been on my list. I've gone, I was able to go ahead and get the Hotter Than Hell 100. That was one of those big rides that I wanted to get accomplished in my lifetime. And then now the next one is to go ahead and go after this one. It's gonna be big, man.
One last question about that. Is that road or mountain? Mountain
Mountain.
biking.
It's all mountain bike, bro.
Nice, dude.
Yes. Yeah, and it's
Maybe I need to look
self-supported.
into that.
It's self-supported. And I've got my older brother, the Marine, and my younger sister, who's just a blessing in my life. They're gonna go ahead and be up there. They live in Michigan now, so they're gonna go and be part of this. They're gonna be there at checkpoints and whatnot.
Dude, that's awesome. When is that?
I think it's like in September, August timeline. And my
Sounds like a
and
good challenge.
my aunt's got a cabin out there as well. So, bro, dude, if you want to go ahead and get down, then it
Dude, let's talk about it,
ain't
man.
nothing but space and opportunity, homie. You know the
Dude,
rules,
I've
man.
been looking for a new challenge. I'm supposed to go back to Scotland again this year, but
Yeah,
um,
Hagerman's already told me that he'll let us wear the banner, and so I'm gonna wear the banner, dude. And
dude,
it's our now. It's just going, man.
that
It's
sounds
been. And I mean, it literally is considered. If you look it up, man, it's a hell of a ride. I think it's got like an attrition rate of somewhere in like almost the 70 to like 60 to 70% of an
What type of
attrition.
terrain is it? Like,
It's death, bro. It's worse. It's soggy.
it's
It's
a lot of
rocky.
climbing?
It's a lot of climb. Well, it's a
Oh,
lot of climb, a lot of descending. It's a lot of everything, man. It's a
I'm gonna
lot.
look into it. I'm gonna look into it, man. That sounds
Yeah.
like a good
And a lot of
challenge.
some of the stuff's been built out trail. A lot of it's bushwhack. It's just rad, man. I mean, and for me, it's like it's I know that I'm kind of contradicting myself when the idea of like self-imposed stress, but it's where I'm going to go ahead and go back and do some self-imposed stress. I'm
Nice.
going to go ahead and like have that reset. And my reset is going to go ahead and be like a gut check of who I am, what I've made myself. Do I have the mental strength? I know that the physical strength is there, man. Now it's, do I have the mental strength to go ahead and be able to make it through this, right? What is this?
Yeah.
And then I get to reflect upon the hard times in life, where I get bad news, when I get to go ahead and know that family members aren't going to go ahead and do well. I get to look back like that's the most physically challenging thing that I've ever done. It was self-imposed. Now I get to go and say this is going to go and be so bad. So I set the standard on what I'm willing to go ahead and suffer with. It's kind of an
Yeah.
kind of a kind
Yeah.
of crazy way to look at it.
Those are the biggest breakthroughs in the spiritual experiences that you have when like this sober state, but you're pushing your body past the limits. That's one thing I experienced on my first year of the Yomp. And then the second year too, just in a different way, man. Like it's just this, like these barriers you continue to break through, like the naysaying that you're telling yourself, like, why are you doing this? You shouldn't even be out here. This is good enough.
Correct.
Like you have nothing to prove, like all these things, man. And then you get it done and you're like, and I think the one mistake that we make is, well, I say me and Santa, because we got to do it last year together, is that we're like, it almost comes off like we got lucky. Like, but it's like, dude, there was no luck in that. Like, what I mean by that is like it rained, it hurt, it sucked, dude. We're hungry, tired, delusional, like fucking hallucinating. And we had several times to stop. We could have stopped. So I was in pain, like the last 40 miles. Like it was brutal, dude, but we got through it, and I don't know, I got to experience all these things that not only in myself, but in my wife, right? And to
And your
see like how
mates?
strong, yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, man. And it was pretty awesome, man. Like, and I don't know, man. It's just like you said, like it's a self-imposed stressor, but at the same time, it's those trials that we need to put ourselves through, because unfortunately, like we used to experience those often, like in going on a hunt, right? If we're in tribe, got to go get some food for the tribe. We got to go
Fasting.
out
Hard
miles
times.
fasting.
Yes.
I've done fast. I just did a fast recently. But yeah, fasting, man. Like it's amazing how like your vision will just hone in like after like day three or day
Mm-hmm.
two, day three, and it's just like I feel more clear. I can like I'm just operating differently, right? And it makes sense from the standpoint like if you had to find your game, then you have to be more heightened, more
Correct.
like your acuity is just heightened just a little bit more. But yeah, man, it's doing those things, man. Like I don't know what the future holds, man, but I want to put myself through the paces to understand like what I am capable of. Like rather do it in peacetime than in the real time.
The other thing, Simon, that I'll respect to go ahead and say, man, is that you're not aging gracefully. You're doing it ripping at the earth. Like, I'll give you that, man. And I think that's one thing that I've like come to go ahead and have this common bond with a lot of the guys that I like to go ahead and be with their therapy and people that I'm friends with. We're not aging gracefully, brother. We're angrily. We are scratching at the earth. We are like we are putting down pillars, and we're like, I am not gonna go ahead and have some be a. I'm not a hip replacement guy. I'm not a this person. Like, I'm going
Yeah.
to go ahead and wake up. We're gonna stretch. We're gonna go ahead and do these things. We're gonna still have vitality. And I think that's the other part that I respect all my friends and all the people that I get to go ahead and be out with, because that's one of like the common motifs that we're having, right? Is that we all realize like it's not just about constantly pushing, it's about being able to go ahead and have these resets. It's also realizing that the primary goal is that we still want to have these stories in our 70s.
Yeah.
right? That we want to go ahead and have these stories where it's like, man, I mean, I know that I'm not too far back from my dad. Like, it's 20 years that he's got me by beat, but the guy's got these guys have diabetes, they have high blood pressure, they have all these other things. I'm not going down like that, bro. I'm going
Yeah.
down swinging. Like I'm going down with everything that I have, and I think I get to go ahead and see that, and that's I think a bond that I get to go ahead and have with a bunch of, when I have these conversations, or you sit down to go ahead and meet other veterans, and there's some of them that don't. There's a lot of guys that don't go ahead and have this, right? But
Yeah.
then you realize that like almost 75% of them are angry because we're not trying to age gracefully. We still want to go ahead and have it one day, like, hey, in the event, like that, if I was ever called up, right? If I ever had to go ahead and like march the streets, if we ever had to do that, like I'm still capable and feverish in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, man, that's what it boils down to, man. Is just want I don't want to be a liability, right? I want to hold my own.
Correct.
Um, and I think also part of it is I remember when docs like they put their diagnosis on you, but they almost give you like a death sentence, right?
Hmm.
It's just like you're not gonna be able to do this for the rest of your life, so enjoy it now. When they tell you shit like that, I had a couple people tell me that like in CMP exams and stuff. Um, and so to a certain extent, that was one of the like the fires. Like I need to do something, right? Because like at least I'm gonna enjoy it. Like if I'm gonna be, I don't know, in a nursing home or whatever. I don't know, whatever the case may be.
Correct.
I at least want to be able to look back like, damn, I had a good time doing it, you know? I like I that don't go gentle to that good night, you know?
Exactly.
And then on the other part of it is like I don't want to be where I was. So I'm gonna do everything I can and bring other people along and share what I can. Like, hey man, this if any of this shit works for you, like please take it. Like I don't you know what I mean? Here's
I
my
do.
path. It don't have to be your path. Just fucking take some of it and let it help you. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Well, you don't ever want anybody, I would look at it from the point of, if I could go ahead and tell someone like, hey man, this is the bottom feels like, and then
Yeah.
you get to go and then they get to you're a couple steps away from that, right? When they realize like, hey man, like you don't want to wake up in a VA bed. You don't want to go ahead and, find yourself in the psych ward. You don't want to find yourself in a couple places where you're just like, fuck, what happened? Where did this
Yeah.
lead to? And if you can go ahead and help them by like, hey, you want to know what, dude, this is my story, or this is where my opportunity to go ahead and give you guidance is, right? And they heed it. And also, there's that, I hate to go and I hate, I'm using this hate word, right? But it's a thing they call trauma bonding, right? It's like
Mhm.
when you find out, oh, your parents beat the shit out of you, like, oh, mine too, right? And you're like, okay, we're
Yeah.
best friends from now on, right? I think that's another thing that we have as veterans, right? Or we have as men, is that we look at trauma bonding, and we look at like, hey man, you've had horrible, right? You've got this happen, right? You've made decisions, you've pulled triggers, right? You've had to go ahead and make the decision, like either you live or I live, and I have to go ahead and look at it from that standpoint, right? And when we get that chance, it's like, hey, but then it's to be able to voice it to somebody else. It's to be able to voice it to another person, and you're like, dude, but you don't have to stop here. Like that was a chapter in your story. Let's move forward. That's big too, man. Real big to go ahead and
Yeah.
have that combo.
Yeah, man. And that's yeah. It's a lot more common than people think. And I think we're in a better place as a society to kind of talk about some of these things than we were or our parents were. And just one quick note. Our parents were coming our parents specifically were coming out of their parents coming out of the Great Depression. They lived through that, as kids, so they brought all that save mentality and you gotta work hard and there's no time for fun and all that stuff, right? But there's obviously a balance within it all. And resourcefulness and all that stuff. But dude, I really appreciate this conversation, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna help other like folks. Appreciate you just kind of just being yourself, like as you always are. And
Always,
I knew
man.
it was gonna be a good fun one. I mean, granted, it's not all fun to talk about,
Hey,
um,
man. We made it.
but
We made it through, bro. And that's better than most, man. And then that's the
yeah,
other part that I look at. We there's some people that don't get to wake up tomorrow morning. There's going to go ahead and
yeah,
be guys that made the decision to go ahead and put a hot one through their throat, man. And
yeah,
that's to me, if I can tell my story, if I get to go ahead and tell people like, hey, this is what gets me through the day. This is where I'm at. This is why I have to go ahead and do the things that I do. If you're looking out, then if you ever cross my path, you'll know why I act like this. You know
Yeah.
why I will always have this point where I'm going to go ahead and be helping. Why I'm always going to go ahead and be there, and I'm going to bolster people up. I'm going to build people up. That's my main drive and focus. And I think that's when we cross anybody's path, that's what our goal is, man. And I thank you for putting this platform out. I think this is incredible that you're giving this opportunity, but it also lets you go kind of express, you know, passions and goals that you have derived inside of your heart, right? Things that you want to go ahead and get out to the community, that people get to go ahead and listen, and then we get to go ahead and say, hey, you want to know what? It's created the ripple effect in a positive manner.
Yeah, man. And yeah, definitely. And I appreciate you being you, man, and everything you're doing within your circles, and especially like monetarily or what have you, donating and stuff like that, man. It's definitely gonna be appreciated. At least put us out there to be able to affect those that may I don't know vote of confidence or get their tire fixed or whatever.
Yeah,
But
man.
appreciate the shout out, you, man.
Okay. All right, Simon. Keep it classy, brother.
All right, you too. Stop recording.